Warrior Lore. Chapter 683. Advance Together. Chapter 683. Advance Together. A new outer city jutted out from the ground after 7 days. This new city wall was more imposing, seeming like a never-ending mountain range. Although it wasn't even, the lowest point was around 100 meters high. This radiant silver city seemed to be made of metal, standing firmly while diffusing a cold aura that never dispersed. Under the cooperation of the Human Clan, Monster Clan, Dark Devil Clan, and the Winged Clan, the new city wall seemed invincible. Carved formations decorated the wall, bringing out a tremendous energy. The day the outer city was finished, many humans felt happy, as they believed that this city was their new home. They had to protect it at any cost to preserve the last piece of land of the Human Clan. As the owner of the city, Shi Yin had joined the construction from the beginning to the end. He had concentrated on carving the formation and refining the liquid steel that made this city wall more rigid than the hardest metal. Yin Long, Shuelai, glacial armor giant alligator, nine-headed bird, and silver-winged skywolf had used their monster forms to hit the city wall to test its endurance. Although the impact had crashed their armors, it left no cracks in the wall. The two head masters of the Demon Clan had tried the defensive ability of the city wall discreetly. They were astounded to see that if they wanted to smash this city down, they would have to pay a big price. Everybody had their spirit boosted. They had survived the disaster, and they felt lucky that they made a wise decision to not leave the city. Alien tribes were still hunting humans in the perpetual night forest. People who didn't belong in this city had become their targets. After 7 days, most of the human warriors had been killed, becoming wandering ghosts under the pagan slaughter, or the fertilizer for their sacrificial altar. The number of people who could survive was pathetically little. In the outer city, all formations and barriers worked well. Qi Tian Oldie Long Zhu had restored half of his power. The city had Yun Hao and Yuan Jiang at the second sky of True God Realm, and Dishan, Li Zhengrong, and Yuro at the first sky of True God Realm. With this force in the city and the city's defensive ability, Shi Yin felt more determined. He believed that even if the 4 alien tribes returned and attacked his city, it wouldn't be any easy for them. Finally, he could exhale in relief. Next, he had to prepare for the big business of his realm advancement. Shi Yin called Long Zhu and Yun Hao and explained part of the secrets of the utmost 8 purgatories city. He arranged everything and then left quietly with Yang Tian Emperor. When he got out of the city, Bao Ao and Jieji recognized immediately. They stepped forward and asked for his opinion. "Give me half a month. After that, I will go with you guys." Shi Yin told them and then took Yang Tian Emperor to the Creator's Divine Pond. Bao Ao and Jieji had to wait for so many years, so the period of 15 more days wasn't too long for them. They gladly agreed. Near the Creator's Divine Pond, Shi Yin and Yang Tian Emperor smiled, looking at the platform in the middle of the miraculous pond. "With this pond, we can have more true God Realm warriors. Not long afterward, our general competence will increase fast. Later on, even if Qin Gu Chuan, Guan Ho, and Lu Miao haven't died, they would never replace us in the Human Clan." Yang Tian Emperor felt relaxed as a glorious light sparkled in his eyes. Currently, the Yang family was prosperous like they had never been before, much more than when they were in the Endless Sea. Although the Yang family was the overlord of the Endless Sea, its structure was small, which was insignificant in the eyes of the experts in the Divine Great Land. However, it was different today. Warrior Lore, they were in most mysterious perpetual night forest of the Divine Great Land, building the main line of the Human Clan. Today, they were the future of the Human Clan. The Chao family, the Dark Devil Clan, the Winged Clan, the Fighting Union, and the Radiant God Cult, together with the small forces, had gathered in the Yang family, which was a situation he had never dared to imagine. However, everything came true now. The Yang family had become the owner of the utmost 8 purgatories city. All people who stayed here, no matter they belonged to the 7 alliances or the small forces, had to follow the Yang family's arrangement. The power and the force of the Yang family had leaped to a new peak they had never seen before. All of this was thanks to Shi Yin, the young man he had picked up from the quiet Cloudland. Looking at Shi Yin in front of him, Yang Tian Emperor was extremely proud, thinking that bringing Shi Yin from the quiet cloudland here was the best decision he had ever made in his whole life. Great-grandpa, you should go first, Shi Yin chuckled, taking out the soul-gathering pearl. He sent the bead to the platform to release the crystal-clear soul energy. The soul-gathering pearl had collected a large amount of soul power from Lingming and Yeruo. The soul energy it had refined was translucent and condensed. Shi Yin felt pleased on seeing it. After observing the soul energy a little bit, Shi Yin saw that it was enough for 10 warriors to enter the true God realm easily without any risks. No, I'm not hurried. Yang Tian Emperor shook his head and smiled. The 2 demons are still waiting for you. You should break through to the true God realm first. It's easy to talk with them then. Moreover, if something unexpected happens, you would already be in the true God realm, which will be a tranquilizer to the utmost 8 purgatory city. You are more important than me. You should go first. Shi Yin was surprised. He pondered for a while and considered that it was logical. If he used the cultivation base of true God realm to control the utmost 8 purgatory city, he could advance the power of the formations and barriers in the city by 1 more level. This city would become tremendously strong and would better protect his people. From this point, he had a bigger value than Yang Tian Emperor. He didn't deny, smiled and said, "Then, I'll get in there first. Great-grandpa, please watch over me. I will reach the true God realm quickly." Little Yin, you want to know how that little girl is, don't you? She has entered the chaotic space basin. I guess she is more likely to die than stay alive. Do you still want to use the immortal blood? Yang Tian Emperor frowned. The immortal blood could see what the user's close acquaintance had experienced. As long as the other's realm was lower or equal to his, Shi Yin could use the immortal blood to know the location and current situation of that person. He hastened to enter the true God realm also to check how Xia Xian Yin was. Shi Yin knew what had happened in the Ice and Fire secret domain from Bao Ao and Jieji. He totally agreed with Xia Xian Yin when she resolutely decided to enter the chaotic space basin to avoid the alien slaughter. He believed that if he were in the same situation, he would have made the same decision. Xia Xian Yin had the understanding of the martial path of a king God realm expert. Shi Yin thought that she would be all right even if she were in the chaotic space basin. However, he was still worried about her. That's why he wanted to use the immortal blood to see her whereabouts. However, Xia Xian Yin had reached the true God realm, and he was just in the spirit realm. If he forced himself to process the reading, he would get hurt. Only if he reached the true God realm would using the immortal blood vaguely show him whether Xia Xian Yan's soul had vanished or not. To him, it was enough. Yes, I always worry about her. Haha. She took me to the endless sea. She took care of me well. When we were in the endless sea, she had never done anything to be ashamed of. I know what happened with the Xia family and Xia Qingho. However, T isn't related to her. Shi Yin smiled. Yang Tian Emperor frowned. But her grandpa, we didn't do anything to him. We don't know whether he's alive or not. I think she would be all right. Shi Yin smiled begrudgingly. He pulled himself together, then concentrated and washed away the chaotic thoughts like gossamer in his head. Yang Tian Emperor wanted to say something, but he noticed Shi Yin's bright eyes and his calmed-down aura, and knew that Shi Yin had started the process. Yang Tian Emperor didn't talk more. He moved away and sat down cross-legged to protect Shi Yin. Shi Yin floated like a lily water pad, then slowly landed on the spiritual platform in the center of the divine pond. He sat down, then closed his eyes and let his soul sublimate. His sea of consciousness settled like the mirror of his consciousness. Light rippled from the top-grade essence crystals scattered around the place, pouring into the spiritual platform from the special ditches to supply energy for the magical formation. Yang Tian Emperor observed to see the changes of the divine pond. Heavenly Demon Mountain Range, Vault of Heaven Sea, Endless Sea. This place had the endless mountain range where many demon beasts gathered in the endless sea. It was also the forbidden area of the human clan. Strong beasts wandered here and there year-round. Even when the martial spirit palace was at their peak time, they had never dared to trespass this area. The sun, moon, and stars shone over a 10,000 meters high mountain, jutting to the sky, as if it wanted to connect the sun, moon, and stars. Boom, boom, boom. All of a sudden, many head-splitting explosions reverberated from this grand mountain. An energy wave flooded the area, expanding everywhere from the mountain. Crack, crack, crack. Wherever the energy wave washed over, mountains collapsed one by one. This endless mountain range seemed to cave in terrifyingly. Under the shining light of sun, moon, and stars, the energy wave had peeled off the surface layer of rock, revealing the true shape of this mountain. Dazzling massive pillars with many colors shot up to the sky. Each pillar was at least several thousand meters tall, with many patterns and drawings in the old style of the monster clan. Under the bright sky, it radiated shiningly. It turned out there were so many giant pillars hiding in this endless mountain range. These pillars were scattered thickly in every corner of the heavenly demon mountain range, creating a massive ancient formation of the monster clan. After the rock layer was slid away, an inexplicably massive ancient formation was exposed at the 10,000-meter-high mountain in the center of the place. This formation was supported by 7 ferocious monster hands. Each monster hand was around 10 mu. A fierce, cold aura diffused from them, while the monster scriptures drawn on the palms sparkled. 7 monster hands supported a Star of David formation, where some tiny figures of the beast were sitting. From a close look, those were the Ghost Hunter, the Devouring Gold Silkworm, and the King of Demonic Insects. At this moment, they seemed to receive some ancient inheritance of the monster clan, taking in the energy and powers from the giant pillars of the demonic formation around them. Chapter 684. The Seal of Upanishad of the Lasting Mark. Chapter 684. The Seal of Upanishad of the Lasting Mark. At the bottom of the crystal-clear lake, Shi Yin sat neatly on the spiritual platform in the middle of the mysterious ancient formation with a calm face. His profound soul consciousness matched perfectly with the aura of this divine pond. Unknowingly, he fell into a deep dream where he felt his soul had departed his body. His consciousness bobbed without a target, such that he couldn't gather it into an effective and precise thought. Lines of thick energy reached to the center of the divine pond everywhere. Gradually, the life-original fluid and the soul-washing divine water in the spiritual platform were stirred up, and the translucent soul energy diffused. Different colored magical energies that couldn't blend with each other gathered and twirled around his body beautifully. When these significant energies fluctuated and entered his body through his pores, they gradually flowed towards his brains, accumulating bit by bit in his sea of consciousness. His host soul was sitting neatly in the center of the sea of consciousness like his real body was doing in reality. He was calmly waiting to connect the energies with his flows of soul consciousness. The 5-colored chi started to diffuse in his sea of consciousness, blending with his flows of soul consciousness, making them float towards his host soul. Shi Yan's sea of consciousness started to drain as all beams of his soul consciousness were twined around the host soul, turning it into an illuminated object with magical soul fluctuations. The scattered energy of heaven and earth that was rolling above the platform was attracted, pouring into his host soul like waves of the surging tide. It made his host soul tremble. He couldn't even gather his thoughts. The host soul kept the Upanishads of his martial spirits, which he had comprehended over the recent years. It also contained the death and life seal intent domain, the miraculous star energy, and space power. The 3 different powers were washed in his host soul. After each time of washing, they were refined and cleaned, giving Shi Yin a new level of cognition of the 3 energies' mysteries. A flame sparkled in his host soul. This flame was bright silver, appearing like a flickering flame at his glabella, bouncing continually. It was the 9 Serenity's soul-devouring flame. Under the washing of countless types of mysterious and indescribable energies of the antiquity time, this heaven flame was dancing, slowly emerging from his glabella. In the life field of the host soul, the 3 Upanishads of the death and life seal, star, and space had become 3 fingernail-sized dots. They were shimmering, carrying the subtle magical intent domains, which could be deemed as miracles in the universe. When a warrior was breaking to the true God realm, while he was using his host soul to condense the God soul, all energy Upanishads he had comprehended would leap up to another level. During the process of condensing the God soul, while the energies of heaven and earth were washing the host soul, the warrior could further understand the energies he had, making it the foundation of his true God realm. After many years of walking on the martial path, Shi Yin had practiced many things. However, only the three kinds of energies, including the death and life seal, the star, and space energies, could generate the seal of Upanishad in his host soul. This spoke of the fact that Shi Yin had totally controlled these three energies, which he could use to dedicate himself to progress. Regarding the other techniques and powers, Shi Yin didn't have a good grasp of their essence, so he couldn't create the Upanishad seal in his host soul. The Upanishad seal could be deemed the most precious asset of a warrior. Once it could fuse with the God soul, it could bloom gloriously in the future, giving the warrior access to a wider universe. As long as the God soul wasn't destroyed, the power that created the seal of Upanishad would never vanish. If a warrior wanted to reincarnate, the power that created his trace of Upanishad would be imparted to his next incarnation. At the same time, the seal of Upanishad was also a basic foundation to generate the martial spirit. A strong warrior could use his bloodline to bestow his seal of Upanishad. Taking Shi Yin as an example, if he could successfully condense the God soul this time, when he reached a higher realm in the future and grasped the secret of inheritance, he could impart the Upanishad of star, death and life, and space to his grandchildren, increasing the success rate of these three powers' inheritance. It was rumored that the dark magnetic noxious mist had the crystal-clear God soul of some warrior who had died a long time ago with the seal of Upanishad, the most precious attainment of that warrior in his whole life. Only the powers that could create the seal of Upanishad could fuse with the God soul, and it would never vanish when the body was destroyed. And only the seal of Upanishad could be preserved when memories faded and disappeared. Unless the life seal were eradicated, the seal of Upanishad would exist together with the life seal eternally. The generation of the Upanishad seal was mysterious. No one could understand its true principle. It was hard to sense this process under normal circumstances. Only when the warrior was breaking through a major realm, it could flash shortly. Today, Shi Yin had three seals of Upanishad in his head, including the death and life, star, and space. These three seals had emerged in his host soul's brain unknowingly. Usually, a normal warrior had to understand a seal of Upanishad to the acme to step into the true God realm and condense the God soul. But Shi Yin's case was different. Using the Creator's divine pond, he had got through a shortcut. If one of the three seals of Upanishad he had could be understood to the peak, he could use the Creator's divine pond and break through to the true God realm based on that Upanishad. Bing Qingtong, Han Shui, Di Shan, and Yi Tianmo had used one kind of Upanishad seal to successfully enter the true God realm. However, Shi Yin's three seals of Upanishad were miraculously balanced. His understanding of the three powers had advanced perfectly together. None of them were too profound or too weak compared to the others. So, when he was stepping in the true God realm, condensing his God soul, such an experience had been gained. There was no focus. Even the divine pond didn't know which power it should focus on to improve one of Shi Yin's Upanishad seals. And at this moment, Shi Yin was bewildered that he couldn't use his soul consciousness to guide the pond. This situation was marvelously strange. It took place quietly. The others could only see the pond steadily urge and pour energy, soul-washing divine water, life original fluid, and crystal-clear soul energy to the spiritual platform continually. At the same time, the top-grade essence crystals scattering outside the divine pond were inundating it with energy, as if they would never stop until they could create something miraculous. The three powers of death and life, star, and space were washed and improved altogether. He didn't know why and how it was happening, so he just tried to transform the three seal of Upanishad at the same time. This had slowed down his breaking through process, much slower than Yi Tianmo's team. To improve the three seals of Upanishad at the same time required a huge amount of energy and the power of the entire divine pond, much more than the amount spent for the previous users. Gradually, 3 different kinds of energies emitted from the spiritual platform: the death and life intent domain, star mysteries, and the ever-changing space appeared altogether above the platform. Shi Yin was condensing his god soul. However, Yang Tian Emperor felt worried beside the divine pond. He had been walking back and forth restlessly, his face gloomy. Yang Tian Emperor had seen Li Zhengrong's group entering the true god realm. The energy waves that the divine pond had generated at that time weren't the same as in Shi Yan's case now, not more than 1/10. Time flew by quietly. Unknowingly, it had been 3 months. In a normal case, this period was enough for 3 people to generate their god souls and enter the true god realm. To Shi Yan, it seemed he had just begun. Yang Tian Emperor became more agitated. Day after day, his anxiety grew bigger. It seemed that the top-grade essence crystals scattered outside the pond weren't enough. Many top-grade essence crystals, which used to be as beautiful as diamonds, had turned ash-gray after their energy had been used up completely. Seeing the essence crystals being consumed massively, Yang Tian Emperor's concern grew bigger. However, he didn't know how to help Shi Yin in these circumstances. Until Yichang Feng came. After 3 months, many people in the city finally recognized the unusual situation. They asked him to go and check. Seeing Yichang Feng, Yang Tian Emperor asked him to bring all of the essence crystals from the outer city and the city center here. Afterward, when he transported almost 10,000 pieces of essence crystal to the pond, Yang Tian Emperor and Yichang Feng then got busy replacing the used ones. With the new energy supply, the Creator's divine pond became normal. However, good things never lasted long. After 2 more months, the 3 energies of Upanishad in the spiritual platform became clearer. At the same time, cracks appeared in many corners of the divine pond. Some curves of the formation seemed to be about to explode at any minute. The Creator's divine pond had been built by experts with supernatural powers and many rare materials. When those materials shattered, it meant the energy that the platform had to bear were so much that it cracked the pond. Yang Tian Emperor became edgier, but he had no solution. Even Shi Yin couldn't understand the mysteries of his Creator's divine pond. How could he help with this situation? He had no way to protect or repair the pond. He could only observe and try protecting Shi Yin carefully. The only thing that assured his mind was that the spiritual platform was still working. There was no sign of operation failure yet. Time flew by hurriedly. After 3 more months, besides the spiritual platform floating in the middle of the Creator's divine pond, the other materials that formed the exquisite formations and barriers had become the accessories for the place, with no energy fluctuating from them. It seemed that all the energy had been drawn to create Shi Yan's god soul, helping him enter the true god realm. At this moment, Yang Tian Emperor could see that the Creator's divine pond had been completely damaged. In this era, no one could fix it. The chance for him to break through the next realm was cut off accidentally. Yang Tian Emperor didn't worry about himself, but Shi Yin. Anyway, he felt lucky that the platform was still working. The 3 energies moved above the platform like 3 invisible giant dragons fighting with each other. Yang Tian Emperor had to stay further away, as he couldn't bear the energy impact from these 3 powers. Time flew fast. After another 2 months, the spiritual platform started to have many hairline cracks, as if it could shatter at any minute. When Yang Tian Emperor felt like his heart was hung on a thread, biting his tongue anxiously, the platform suddenly quieted down. Shi Yin, who was still sitting on the platform, gradually woke up. Yang Tian Emperor was struck. Joy sparkled in his eyes as he smiled dumbly. Yang Tian Emperor understood that the process was quite dangerous and difficult. But in the end, Shi Yin succeeded. His god soul had been created. Chapter 685. The 3-Tiered Soul Sacrificial Altar. Chapter 685. The 3-Tiered Soul Sacrificial Altar. Shi Yin woke up leisurely. As soon as he opened his eyes, he was stunned, his face strange. The Creator's divine pond had been demolished. The spiritual platform and the materials that built the divine pond seemed to have exploded, leaving only dozen meters wide, pitch black, deep hole right where the magical formation of the pond was carved. Water immediately filled that pond. Shi Yin scanned the place. He found that all the top-grade essence crystals had turned into ordinary stones. They had no energy surging or any spiritual qi. Yang Tian Emperor stood by the large pothole. He looked distressed, with bloodshot eyes, as if he hadn't slept for several hundred days. He wasn't in high spirits either. After a glance, Shi Yin stopped checking around and analyzed his own body. Astonishment filled his face constantly, as if he had found something miraculous. He looked dumbstruck. Big changes had happened in his head. His sea of consciousness had expanded by 5 times. Waves rippled in his brain. Each flow of his soul consciousness was now a beam of glorious light. They sparkled radiantly with pure soul consciousness energy fluctuating. His vast sea of consciousness started to surge, according to some rules of nature. Flows of soul consciousness turned into seawater of the sea of consciousness, as if they could create a miraculous connection with his tendons and vessels, giving him a clear change of essence qi in his body. Quieting down his mind, he surveyed his body. A joy that he couldn't press down flowed through his entire body. His sea of consciousness and the essence qi ancient tree had been connected. Flows of soul consciousness could run to the essence qi ancient tree in his stomach through his vessels and tendons, which helped him control his essence qi and distribute it to his vessels to bring out his supernatural powers. This was a new concept he had never known before. In the spirit realm, whenever he wanted to urge the essence qi in his body, he had to send his soul consciousness to his host soul, which sent the waves of consciousness that ordered to gather the essence qi. After that, with the transportation through special vessels and tendons, he could carry out the effective martial techniques. However, it was different now. Flows of his soul consciousness could connect the vessels and the essence qi ancient tree. When his thought fell into the sea of consciousness like just a small ripple, it could immediately urge the energy in his body. This reaction speed was much faster than before. In other words, he had another faster and more precise way to control the essence qi. But it wasn't the only change in his head. A triangular altar floated above his sea of consciousness. It wasn't a real entity, trembling unsteadily. This was made of many beams and spots of light, which stored the mysterious of life and death intent domain, star, and space. The distinctive surging energy of these 3 powers was unique and mysterious. Floating atop the altar made of the powers of death and life intent domain, star, and space, was the God Soul. The God Soul didn't look like Shi Yan's himself, but more like a chaotic liquid flame. This translucent fluid was murmuring quietly above the altar. Observing for a while, Shi Yin found that the altar had more than one tier. It had 3 tiers. The bottom was his vast sea of consciousness. The middle tier stored the mysteries of death and life, star, and space, where these 3 powers formed a triangle. Special energy waves rippled and resonated with his God Soul from this tier. Floating atop the altar was the unshaped flame-like God Soul, which was constantly releasing the soul energy. The Sea of Consciousness, Upanishads of Power, and the God Soul had formed the altar. The Sea of Consciousness was the largest part that established the foundation. Upanishads of Power were in the middle, and the fist-sized God Soul topped them like a liquid flame. As he tried to flicker his thought, he found that his God Soul, the Power Upanishads, and his Sea of Consciousness had fused perfectly. His flow of thought wasn't hindered. As soon as it reached the tier of Upanishad, it could immediately trigger that tier of the altar to rouse the energy. Next, it would connect the Sea of Consciousness, which controlled the body to make the energy, vessels, and muscles cooperate, to engage the tremendous martial techniques. The God Soul would control everything with the Power Upanishads and the Sea of Consciousness as its 2 assistants. When the God Soul manipulated his blood and muscles with the essence qi, he could strike a martial technique with the power from the Upanishad to have an intimidating attack. Was it the true God realm? A beam of doubt flashed in Shi Yan's head. In the next moment, his spirit flew out from his body with a trace of distraction in its eyes. Swoosh, swoosh. A bright silver flame was dancing unsteadily above the Sea of Consciousness, as if it had been banished from its home, having no foothold at this moment. It was the Nine Serenity's soul-devouring flame. While he was breaking through the true God realm, he had condensed the God soul, which had expelled this heaven flame from his host soul. At this moment, Shi Yin had the God soul, but the flame couldn't fuse with it anymore, despite the fact that it could still connect with his God soul. Shi Yin kept silent. His thoughts crossed the God soul, as if he was searching for something. He was trying to contact the heaven flame. After a while, his eyes brightened, and his spirit was high. The Nine Serenity's soul-devouring flame told him that when the heaven flame fused, they could be placed at the center of his three-tiered altar, becoming a new tier. The God soul was mysterious and inexplicable, which stored the purest miracle of nature's principle. Once it was formed, it could only contain the seals of Upanishad, knowledge, and memories. It couldn't hold any other creature. Heaven flames were some sorts of living beings with a consciousness, which meant it couldn't be fused with his God soul. If he insisted on making a fusion, it would be possible if a heaven flame were the perfect match with the seal of Upanishad he had comprehended. However, he had to erase the memory of the heaven flame to put its seal into the seal of Upanishad. This would boost the development and breakthrough of that Upanishad seal tremendously. However, the three seals of Upanishad in his God soul weren't matched with the heaven flame's characteristics. This kind of fusion was hard to carry out. And Shi Yin didn't want to erase the heaven flame's memories. A heaven flame without intellect and memories wasn't something he wanted. Perhaps the Nine Serenity's soul-devouring flame had recognized his thought, so it sent him this soul thought, giving him a win-win solution: coexisting. He would have a new sacrificial altar floating above his sea of consciousness, which was formed by the heaven flames. It would coexist with the tier of the power Upanishad to nurture his God soul. It could use his sea of consciousness to shelter and absorb his energy. Of course, it could provide him powers as well. This structure had the same meaning, with the heaven flames being a special power Upanishad. However, it wouldn't be combined with the second tier of his three-tiered altar, or connect perfectly with the sea of consciousness and the God soul. Anyhow, they could still support each other well. Shi Yin didn't follow its suggestion immediately. He decided to talk to the ice-cold flame first. He wanted to know the other flame's opinion. After the ice-cold flame received his offer, it considered for a while. Eventually, it decided that they could carry out this plan, as it would benefit both of them. The heaven flames could use his sea of consciousness and the energy from his blood and flesh to nurture themselves, making them stronger. Furthermore, since they didn't fuse with the God soul, it would be easier if they wanted to leave him later. To Shi Yin, when the three-tiered altar had another section made of heaven flames, he could use the power of the heaven flames. When he battled with the others, he could use them at ease. He didn't trust the Nine Serenity's soul-devouring flame much. However, he trusted the ice-cold flame more. After he got the ice-cold flame's idea, he started this plan immediately. When his thought moved, the Nine Serenity's soul-devouring flame turned into a sea of bright silver flame, staying in a corner of the power Upanishad tier, floating above the sea of consciousness. The ice-cold flame and the earth flame in the blood vein ring flew out, turning into two small flames that entered his eyes. They flashed and then disappeared into this sea of consciousness, staying with the Nine Serenity's soul-devouring flame. Two flows of aura, a scorching one and an icy one, bobbed in Shi Yin's sea of consciousness. His God soul felt irritated a little bit. Later on, when the ice-cold flame and the earth flame tried to reduce their power, his God soul gradually adapted. The auras of the Nine Serenity's soul-devouring flame, the ice-cold flame, and the earth flame turned into three streams of unique energies, just like the triangular tier of power Upanishads, which could enhance his God soul. He was sensitive enough to sense it. We still have another one. Shi Yin sent his thought to the blood vein ring. Release it. I want to confine it. The aura of the corpse vanishing flame oozed little by little from the blood vein ring. Shi Yin got this heaven flame from Qing Ming, and it hadn't been loyal to him yet. He had kept it in the blood vein ring. At this moment, when the ring loosened its confinement, the flame wanted to run away shortly. Star Chain. Shi Yan's soul flickered, and his sea of consciousness murmured. The star Upanishad in the triangle tier was urged. A crystal-clear chain that was sparkling like the stars in the sky stormed out from his heart and twined the corpse's vanishing flame, dragging it into his body. After Yuan Hao had entered the city, he had imparted the techniques related to the star execution and the flaming sun execution of the radiant god cult to Shi Yan. Now, he had the cutting edge of these forces. This star chain was the development of the star Upanishad, which could imprison soul-form beings. It was special confinement for the strange and eccentric souls of creatures. The ice-cold flame's aura diffused from his eyes. Flows of freezing air extended to the star chain, increasing its confining power. The corpse's vanishing flame couldn't wiggle. Don't fail me. I let you enter my inner sea of consciousness, which gives you face. If you don't follow me, I can make you stop struggling forever. Shi Yan's icy cold soul will enter the green corpse's vanishing flame. The star chain dragged him to the sea of consciousness. As soon as it got into the sea of consciousness, the ice-cold flame, the earth flame, and the nine serenities' soul-devouring flame swarmed over and restrained it. The corpse's vanishing flame stopped wiggling. It seemed to follow his thought, letting him do whatever he wanted. At this moment, Shi Yan put aside what was happening in the world out there, magical flames dancing in his cold eyes. Using the technique the ice-cold flame and the nine serenities' soul-devouring flame had told him, he used the sea of consciousness as the foundation and the god soul to guide and gather the energy of his body, condensing a proper place on the triangular altar for the heaven flames to rest. A new expansion, which could help both sides increase their powers, was slowly formed. In the beginning, the coarse, vanishing flame had still resisted. Afterward, when he knew Shi Yan's real intentions, it felt joyful and started to cooperate with him more. It wasn't stupid. When the flame knew Shi Yan didn't want to erase its memories and just wanted to live together, it stopped struggling and proactively helped him. Chapter 686, True God Realm. Chapter 686, True God Realm. The establishment of the new altar was faster than he had expected. After 3 days, another tier of the heaven flames appeared on the triangle of the three powers Upanishad. The 4 heaven flames, including the 9 serenities soul-devouring flame, the ice-cold flame, the earth flame, and the corpse's vanishing flame, had formed a rectangle. A strange material connected them together. It was the combination of the sea of consciousness, his blood and flesh chi, and the energy of his will. After this expansion of the altar was completed, Shi Yan could contact the 4 heaven flames easily, as they had a soul connection. He could easily urge the powers of the 4 heaven flames as he wished. The 4 heaven flames became a power Upanishad of his. Although they weren't combined with the God Soul like the Upanishad of star, death and life, and space, they weren't any weaker. The 4 heaven flames were satisfied with their current situation. Staying above the sea of consciousness, they could use Shi Yan's sea of consciousness and his vigorous aura to nurture themselves. Later on, they wouldn't need to worry that the warriors would use special tools to restrain them. If they wanted, they could fly out at any moment. At this moment, Shi Yan's breakthrough to the true God realm had come to a perfect end. He had created the God Soul. The 3 power Upanishads of star, death and life, and space had advanced formidably under the fierce urge of the Creator's divine pond. At the same time, they could cooperate in a perfect balance, using the coexisting form of the triangular altar. Shi Yan opened his eyes, revealing a forced smile as he saw the Creator's divine pond was just a ruin now. Great-Grandpa, I'm so sorry. I can't use this shortcut for you anymore. I didn't expect that my breakthrough would create this mess. All the top-grade essence crystals, the soul-washing divine water, the life original fluid, the crystal-clear soul that the soul-gathering pearl had refined, and even the star original essence crystals, were consumed completely. Nothing remained there. He had absorbed all kinds of energies from the divine pond, using its destruction to create his success in building the God Soul and his power Upanishads to enter the first sky of true God realm. It's okay. As long as you are well, Yang Tian Emperor smiled, his face exhausted. Even if we don't have this pond, I believe I can break through soon. Haha. Perhaps using my own comprehension to reach the new realm would help me thrive better. You shouldn't let it burden you. Shi Yin nodded. As things had accelerated to this point, he knew speaking was no help. Shi Yin, is your body all right? Yang Tian Emperor was a little bit nervous. No, it's better than ever. Haha, great-grandpa, don't worry. I've gained a marvelous benefit this time. I can understand the essence of the martial path. It's like, I have a whole new world in my reach, Shi Yin said smilingly. Yang Tian Emperor could finally ease his mind. Then, it's good. Wait a minute, I want to see. If Xia Xinyan's still alive. Shi Yan's face was complicated, as he felt uneasy. A drop of ruby blood rolled from his fingertip, shining in red halo, showing its powerful, evil energy. A thought was sent to his god soul, creating magical waves of energy, urging the power of the triangular altar. The power of space was triggered, connecting to his entire body. A light road appeared in front of him. Space distorted, and a small slit cracked open. He could see many glorious lights inside that space, making it look like a giant spider web, which hid the mysteries of the mighty space. That garnet drop of immortal blood rolled into that slit and moved for a while before shattering. At the moment the drop of blood shattered, a feeble connection stormed into his god soul. His god soul whispered a name, turning it into a vehement soul fluctuation, rising strongly. Shi Yin slightly paled. Another thought flickered, and another drop of his immortal blood fell into that space crack. Soon, the connection appeared again for a fraction of time before it vanished. Shi Yin dropped another drop of his immortal blood and sensed. After dropping 5 drops of immortal blood into the space slit continually, Shi Yin paled, closing his eyes and trying to sense deeper. After a while, the space slit in front of him started to close. What? Is that little girl alive? Yang Tian Emperor asked gingerly. Shi Yin nodded, furrowing his brows. Alive. I can sense a connection. However, she's in an area far away. Although I have a new cognition of the Space Upanishad, it's hard to use the immortal blood to connect with her. Seems like she's not well. I feel like she's bearing an extreme torture. Yang Tian Emperor kept silent, as he didn't know what to say. In his eyes, Xia Xian wasn't worth Shi Yan's concern. Wasting 5 drops of immortal blood just to know whether she was alive or not made Yang Tian Emperor feel quite grieved. He also knew the immortal rebirth secret and had the immortal blood, too. That's why he knew how precious each drop was. At the critical moment, a drop of immortal blood could grow flesh and blood. Using it to predict someone's life was such a waste. However, he couldn't advise the young man, because he used to be hurt because of love himself. He understood that love was something that caused the most extreme pain, and it was hard to reason against. Don't worry. I have my principle. I won't let my affections mess up with my mind. Falling in love is the most glorious phase of someone's life. When I meet my love, I will spend everything to keep it. But if I can't have it, or I can't keep it, I won't be confounded for the rest of my life. Shi Yin smiled, looking at the old man. Great-grandpa, do you think I can't let it go? Yang Tian Emperor woke up and smiled sincerely. He knew this kid was cold-hearted, and he would never let his mind sink into troubles because of the external world. How long have I been here for? Why do I feel it's been a really long time? Shi Yin asked suddenly. Almost a year. Yang Tian Emperor forced a smile, shaking his head. Kid, when you break through the realm, you always make it faster than the others. But you were so slow in the divine pond. I wonder what had happened. Slow doesn't mean bad. Shi Yin grinned brightly. This shows I've gained good things. Much better than the others. Yang Tian Emperor got it. His eyes brightened. You? Yeah, I got better things than Dishan and Li Zhengrong. Otherwise, the pond wouldn't be destroyed, haha. Shi Yin felt pleased. Yang Tian Emperor was surprised. He also smiled, talking in a cheerful tone. Good. As long as you have gotten a good harvest, we don't need to worry anymore. Let's go. We don't need to get back to this place. A thought flashed. The earth flame released its power and opened the formation on the lake surface. Shi Yin and Yang Tian Emperor leaped up to the sky. Frowning at the lake, Shi Yin pondered for a while and then pointed downward. Space power twisted, ripping a large space crack and covering the entire lake. Shortly, the lake disappeared, leaving a 100 square miles hole under their feet. Yang Tian Emperor discolored. This performance had struck him deeply, tearing space and creating a giant hole to swallow the entire lake. Such move was worth calling it a miracle. Although the divine pond's destroyed, it still has the streaks of formation that the others could restore. Perhaps someone could do it. It would be a disaster then. There are so many great experts from the antiquity time in the divine great land at this moment. Perhaps someone could restore it completely, said Shi Yin. Yang Tian Emperor nodded. Better to be careful. I was careless thinking that no one could restore this lake besides you. That's why I didn't think much. I can't restore it, Shi Yin forced a smile. The one who built this pond was a divine grade formation master. He had 3 king god realm experts to support him. They had used countless materials to carve at least 5,000 small formations. I can't understand many formations, so of course, I can't restore them. Yang Tian Emperor was surprised. The higher realm I reach, the smaller I feel. In this life, there are so many intimidating existences. Our power isn't worth mentioning. Shi Yin forced a smile. He suddenly recalled the creature in the Soul Sea inside the dead soul's evil lair of the Dark Spirit clan. That year, he had taken risks using his hollow soul to enter that place and survey once. The ancient aura of that Soul Sea was as hard to predict as the universe. That cold evil could smash his hollow soul, as if it were killing an ant. At that moment, he thought it was something at the true God realm. However, through fighting with Long Zhu, Lin Ming, and the experience he got through entering his new realm, he could confirm that that existence was beyond the concept of the true God realm. The Cold Wind Island, where the corpse god sect was based, had a space crack. Shi Yin had seen skeletons of a 1,000 meters long level 10 beast, which was beheaded in one strike. The one that could kill a level 10 beast, the level that could be compared to the king god realm. How intimidating he must have been. The more he learned, the more careful he was. He would never have an arrogant thought in his mind because of his achievements, all because he understood that there were so many inexplicable existences out there. If the warriors who had escaped this continent into the outer space in the antiquity time were still alive, which realm they would be at now? Sometimes, he didn't dare to think about it further. The more he thought about it, the more struggling he figured out the road ahead of him was. He felt helpless. However, on this path, he would never stop his steps. Don't think too much. Everything starts with the first step. Every strong warrior has a struggling time like us. Without making an effort, will we ever see the beautiful sights? Later, when we look back to today, we will see it valuable to our development, Yang Tian Emperor said emotionally. Shi Yin nodded and smiled. I understand. I won't let it affect me. We should go back. Yes. Ripples of space appeared in front of Shi Yin, bringing the mysteries of space power. Shi Yin stepped into the space ripples, disappearing shortly. In the next moment, he appeared in the city center. He had crossed 1,000 miles just with one step. The advancement of Space Upanishad had increased his speed to an unimaginable level. He could build a passage that could cross space. He could travel 1,000 miles with only one step, as easily as flipping his hands. Chapter 687. Put down. Chapter 687. Put down. With only one step and his soul consciousness, he could arrive at his destination easily. Shi Yin arrived in the utmost 8 purgatory city in just a blink. After 1 year, the city he had built himself had new changes. The city center wasn't changed, but the outer city had been expanded by 3 times. The Radiant God Cult, Fighting Union, and the other small forces had set up many formations and barriers. They had used their sect's formation and barriers to make the city bigger and stronger. Many warriors with shabby clothing gathered and built shelters several hundred miles around the Silver City. Shi Yin stood on the city wall of the outer city, As his soul consciousness glided over those people, he found that they were also human, but they didn't belong to the group he had allowed to stay in the city. Bao and Jieji took the demon clan and left 9 months ago. They had been waiting for Shi Yin for so long. Eventually, they couldn't help but leave and go on with their business. Li Zhengrong, Chao Qiu Dao, Dishan, and Yuro came to see him at the city wall, their faces filled with sincere smiles. I met some changes in my advancement, so it took a lot of time. Anyway, I'm all right. You don't need to worry. Shi Yin told them his situation first, not waiting for them to ask him. What's happened to those people? Arg, they are the survivors. They were lucky that they survived the pagans' hunting. Li Zhengrong frowned and explained. After you got into the divine pond, alien tribes hunted people in the perpetual night forest everywhere. Many people got killed, while some had left the perpetual night forest to some places far away. However, their results were also tragic. Those who were lucky enough to survive came here on their own. They want to get in the city to save their lives. Without you here, we won't let them in. Hence, they camped out there. Harumph. Those people seem to be smart, choosing this place to take shelter. Otherwise, I guess they would have been killed already, Chao Qiu Dao sneered. Alien tribes were hunting human clan everywhere. Only this utmost 8 purgatory city could stay away from that massacre. On one hand, this city had strong forces, and on the other hand, the demon clan and monster clan supported them, which made the other 4 clans spare this city during their hunt. Thus, those who weren't allowed to enter the city and had camped outside also survived. Alien tribes didn't target them anymore. Shi Yin scanned them. He could see that they were living in poor conditions. Some still had open wounds. Many of them brought their families along with senile members. The survival pressure had affected them badly. They seemed to be subdued by some invisible force. Their eyes were always gloomy and distressed. Shi Yin, Long Zhu appeared all of a sudden, wearing a merciful face, looking at him miserably. No matter what, they are the members of the human clan. If we don't care about them, once the pagans come, they will be eradicated in just a blink. Shi Yin frowned. He pondered for a while and then asked the others, "What do you think?" "Old Long is right," Li Zhengrong and Chao Qiu Dao said in a low tone, their faces solemn. Those people had gathered there for a long time. They had spent months to beg for a slot in the city. As the others had heard a lot of their whining and begging, even a man with a steel heart couldn't help but agree with them. Many of them were old and wounded. If they didn't care, perhaps they would die sooner. All right, Shi Yin nodded. Open another region in the outer city and let them in. Yeah, let them stay alone. Remember, don't let them enter the city center. Although they are miserable, they are to be blamed for what they've done. These people change their minds often. They had aimed at us. The city center's really important, so we can't make a mistake. If they destroy our effort, there will be no place for our regret. Okay, I will arrange this myself, Long Zhu smiled, turning around to prepare for those people. When Bao and Jieji left, they left you a note saying that you should go to their place after you get out. They have something important they want to talk with you. Chao Qiu Dao took out a map of the Grace mainland, which had a location marked in bold red ink. Shi Yin skimmed the map, but he didn't receive it. What's the current situation? Chao Qiu Dao, Dishan, Yuro, and Yang Tian Emperor shook their head as they felt a little bit embarrassed. You don't know? Shi Yin was surprised. We've been here, and we rarely go out. Our operation range is within the perpetual night forest. Yuro smiled tenderly and explained. Half a year ago, all alien tribes left the perpetual night forest. At this moment, only the monster clan and us stay in this forest. The alien tribes have claimed the rest of the continent. The 5 great alien tribes have divided the Grace mainland into many regions, and each of them rules an area. We feel lucky they don't come here to attack us anymore. I heard Yin Long of the monster clan say that the 5 alien tribes have an internal dispute. They seem to be having a war too. But I don't know the details, added Chao Qiu Dao. Human clan in the perpetual night forest didn't dare to leave the perpetual night forest, but the monster clan didn't have this restriction. Yin Long and Shuelai, the rulers of the monster clan, often got out of the forest. They knew the situation of the continent out there. However, they weren't interested in this stuff, so their information wasn't clear enough. Yeah, seems like I have to go out and check the situation of the continent. Shi Yin pondered for a while and then came to the city center to prepare for his trip. Shi Yin spent 3 days in the city center to check every formation, barrier, and restriction once. He found that everything still worked well after he had left the city. There were no big issues. This relaxed his mind. He talked to young Tian Emperor, Dishan, and you wrote about the mysteries and the important features of the utmost 8 purgatory city. After he left, if something happened, they would know how to solve it. After he prepared everything properly, he left to see Bao Ao and Jieji of the Demon Clan. He Qing Man and Chu Yin Qing came to him before he left. Their complexion looked complicated. That year, when they were still in the Endless Sea, Shi Yin had helped the Yang family to confirm their overlord position in the Endless Sea. At that time, they had an abyss between each other already. He Qing Man and Chu Yin Qing had survived and left the Endless Sea. They had become Yin Ku's disciples, which helped their cultivation base increase fast. The 2 girls thought that it would help them shorten the distance between them and the man. However, when they met him again, Shi Yin had reached the 2nd sky of Spirit Realm. Even their teacher couldn't do anything to him. After the earth-shaking event in the Perpetual Night Forest, they had a new cognition of the fact that the distance between them had never been shortened. Quite the contrary, it was getting bigger and bigger. Shi Yin had reached the true God realm, and the 2 girls, although they were always doing their best, hadn't even reached the spirit realm yet. It seemed that they were a life away. Today, Shi Yin's position and profile had gone beyond their imagination. He would possibly become the future leader of Human Clan, with good relationships with the Monster Clan and the Demon Clan. This made them understand that no matter how hard they tried, they would never reach Shi Yin. At this moment, there were so many beautiful women in the city, and each had wished that Shi Yin would favor them, even for only one night. It was enough for them to be proud. Compared to those women, they found that they had not many advantages. The thought of being together with Shi Yin for the rest of their lives had faded away. Life was always cruel. To warriors, if the realms were too much different, it was hard to be together. Shi Yin had many companions now, which made them recognize that leaving him when he was weak had become the thing they had regretted the most. I'm surprised I can meet you guys here. How are you doing? If you need anything, just tell me. I will help you. Shi Yin talked first as he saw the 2 staying silent. No, we live well. Thank you. If you hadn't let us in, perhaps we would be dead already, He Qing Man whispered. Shi Yin nodded. Then it's good. We've known each other since we were in the Endless Sea. We're friends. It's natural if I help you, right? Shi Yin, if you meet our teacher this time, please spare her life, as she had helped us before, begged Chu Yin Qing. Which teacher? Wu Qin of the Endless Sea or Yin Ku? Shi Yin was surprised. Our teacher in the Endless Sea is dead. It's Yin Ku. Chu Yin Qing sighed, her face dreary. Shi Yin nodded. Yeah, if I meet Yin Ku, as long as she won't want to kill me, I will give you face. The 2 women then thanked him. Qing Man, I want to have a word with him in private. Could you? Chu Yin Qing bowed her head shyly. He Qing Man was surprised for a while, then she left begrudgingly. Waiting until the other woman left, Chu Yin Qing's beautiful eyes sparkled. She stooped her blushed face, talking shyly. That year in the Endless Sea, before you left, I had told you that if you take me to the divine great land, I will be your woman. Shi Yin was startled. Then, he waved his hand generously. I was messing around. Don't mind that. Haha. I'm serious. Chu Yin Qing lifted her head, her beautiful eyes sparkling while looking at him. If you want me, you can come to me at any time. I'm always willing to be with you. Then, Chu Yin Qing blushed, running away without waiting for Shi Yin to answer. She left an enchanting fragrance in Shi Yin's nostrils. Shi Yin rubbed his nose, smiling and sighing quietly. As he had experienced so many things, he wasn't so arrogant and compulsive like before. He understood that the debt of love was the most difficult debt to be paid off. When he had just entered the Endless Sea, He Qing Man and Chu Yin Qing were the famous beauties he could never reach. They were the pearls of the sea that many young men had yearned for. At that time, if He Qing Man and Chu Yin Qing showed him a flash of their affection, he would be touched so much that he could have cried, as he would have felt proud beyond comparison. However, Chu Yin Qing had humbled herself to ask for his knight now. Human affairs were unpredictable and marvelous indeed. Chapter 688. Ancient Desolate Area, Border Sea. Chapter 688. Ancient Desolate Area, Border Sea. The location Bao Ao had shown him was in the far east of the Divine Great Land, a place called the Ancient Desolate Area. In antiquity time, the Grace mainland had an area called the Ancient Desolate Area, the transition area between the great clans, where different clans gathered and exchanged goods. As Shi Yin had reached the true God realm, he had a deeper knowledge of space. Eventually, he got to know that there were some smaller spaces around the Grace mainland. They were like some small rooms surrounding a big room. In antiquity time, those small spaces were the territories of different clans that they had exploited. During that old time, the 10 clans had thrived. As their experts with tremendous supernatural powers weren't contented with the small area of the Grace mainland, they had found themselves new worlds. Those areas contained thick spiritual qi and precious materials. They had used different methods to find many smaller spaces around the Grace mainland, where their clan could stay and exploit. Soon, they found out those spaces were filled with spiritual qi and rich soil, which was suitable for their clan to live. Then, the alien tribes moved to those smaller spaces, cultivating and searching for precious products of nature. They had divided and claimed their own territories. As time flew, many clans stayed in the small spaces. Some clans that were defeated in big wars in the Grace mainland also moved their whole clan out of the continent. Actually, the 7-layered underworld, the 4 demon areas, the chasm battlefield, the secret domain in the Cold Wind Island, and the ice and fire secret domain in the perpetual night forest were all the small spaces outside the Grace mainland. After tens of thousands of years, they had developed to the current appearance. Those spaces were connected with each other in the Grace mainland, and some gateways were sealed for some reasons. After so many years, many of the small spaces had run out of spiritual qi. Some spaces were sealed, becoming the survival regions of alien tribes. They would never connect with the Grace mainland again. The Ancient Desolate Area was the place connecting territories of alien tribes. Above the Ancient Desolate Area was the Border Sea, where many heaven gates kept floating and bobbing, leading to numerous small spaces. Since space power in the Border Sea above the Ancient Desolate Area was chaotically abundant, it was the most suitable place to build heaven gateways. That's why the clans had decided to build the gateways there to connect to the smaller spaces. Gradually, the Ancient Desolate Area had become a special existence. However, no one knew what had happened to the Border Sea in the modern time that all heaven gateways had been closed. Due to the chaotic space energy in the area, people didn't dare to take risks and explore the place. In the modern day, there were no experts who specialized in building heaven gateways. Thus, the Ancient Desolate Area had become an abandoned place. Previously, the 7 ancient factions had sent their hotshots to guard the area and the Border Sea above, as they were afraid something would happen to the Border Sea. During the recent 10,000 years, everything was normal there. Gradually, the 7 ancient factions had loosened their guard. They withdrew the hotshots and didn't pay much attention to the area. It was until the time Shi Yin comprehended the space power, which led to the Great Space Fission, and the Border Sea changed abnormally. Many sealed heaven gateways opened under the effect of the space power. Bao Ao and Jieji had come back to this continent from the second demon area through the heaven gateway here. Shi Yin had gathered space power, using his soul consciousness to direct the way. Half a day later, he had crossed through layers of space, just like walking through the doors to get to the Ancient Desolate Area. As soon as he had arrived there, he saw the wonder of the antiquity time, the Border Sea. It was a barren place with a garnet ground and no foliage. Shi Yin saw many ruins of palaces and buildings, with many traces of ancient formations. At first glance, the Ancient Desolate Area looked like an imposing ruin of a big city. The sky above the Ancient Desolate Area had many cracks, like long cuts, across the sky. Those cuts contained billions of light spots, with fierce space power that could crush everything. That was the border sea. Shi Yin faced up the sky and recognized that the border sea was made of countless space slits. Each space slit led to a small space, which were the secret domains Yun Hao had mentioned. The journey to the secret domains Yun Hao and the 7 ancient factions had mentioned was the trip to the border sea above the ancient Desolate area. The 7 ancient factions had some secret techniques that could open 1 or 2 secret domains here. These places still had spiritual qi and some interesting places to explore. Today, when Shi Yin observed so many cracks in the sky, he understood that the 7 ancient factions didn't need to open any secret domain anymore. Most of the gateways to the secret domains were inside the space cracks. However, it would be tough to explore those areas. Bao Ao and Jieji had shown him this area. However, Shi Yan's soul consciousness couldn't sense anything. Standing in the barren, quiet, ancient, desolate area, Shi Yin mused for a while, releasing flows of invisible lightning like soul consciousness to the space slits in the border sea above his head. Behind each space slit was a small space above the Grace mainland. During the antiquity time, those spaces were the territories of the strong tribes. But after tens of thousands of years, the spiritual qi there had scattered completely. Now, only death qi filled the place. When a normal warrior sent his soul consciousness to the space slit, not only couldn't he get anything, but also couldn't retrieve it back, which would affect his soul. Shi Yin was different, as his soul consciousness carried the mysteries of space Upanishad. It could glide through space slits without being hindered. Normal space energy fluctuation couldn't affect him, giving him room to explore the place. More than 300 flows of soul consciousness sneaked through the space slits. Flows of death and desolate aura came back to his god soul, making him understand the basic situation of those spaces. There was no living fluctuation, spiritual qi, or treasures that carried energy. In those small spaces, it seemed that silence dominated the entire area, which caused him a fierce soul impact. Actually, the antiquity time didn't have only the 10 races. The God Clan, the Dark Clan, the Demon Clan, and the Monster Clan were just the 10 strongest clans. Besides them, there were almost 100 minor and bizarre races. However, they were weak, and their competence was unclear. Those small clans had opened space cracks and moved their whole clans there. However, after so many years, those spaces were tranquil, as if the clans staying inside were all dead. Shi Yin was frightened. Looking at the border sea above his head with so many space cracks, Shi Yin didn't give up. He gathered and condensed his soul consciousness, sending it to survey more space slits. There were several thousand space slits inside the border sea. Even his soul consciousness's intensity couldn't search them all shortly. He had to carry it out step by step. The 300 flows of soul consciousness hadn't reported any energy fluctuations of living beings to him. Everything was quiet and desolate, which distressed him a little bit. He understood that one of those space cracks was the entrance to the second demon area where Bao Ao and Jieji had come from. However, finding a door among a countless number of doors wasn't an easy task. He vaguely thought it wasn't good. If nothing unexpected happened, Bao Ao and Jieji would send some experienced warriors of the demon tribe to support him. But he saw no one now. What had happened? Then, he observed the surroundings of the ancient desolate area and found some streaks of recent battles. A thought popped up in his head. The 5 great alien tribes had fought here. Bao Ao and Jieji were here. Were they defeated? Did they retreat into the second demon area? Bao Ao and Jieji's force could be considered the strongest among the 5 clans. Normally, the other 4 clans wouldn't dare to fight face to face the demon clan. Something unexpected had happened. Shi Yin slammed his eyebrows together. He had a good impression of Bao Ao and Jieji. They had helped him. Moreover, he seemed to have the demon bloodline in his body. Naturally, Shi Yin would favor the demon clan more. If the demon clan failed, his career in the perpetual night would be affected. He might be swept away by the other 4 clans shortly. He suddenly felt tense. Shi Yin immediately gathered his soul consciousness and sensed the remaining space splits. A long while later, his eyes brightened. He shuddered and then retrieved the flows of soul consciousness he had released. Got it. A significant beam of demon chi appeared clearly inside a space slit. After he extended his soul consciousness to tens of thousands of miles inside the space crack, he felt the energy fluctuation of living beings for the first time. That was a member of the Ghost Mark clan. He had a good grasp of the Soul Upanishad of the Ghost Mark clan. His soul consciousness just needed to rake through the place, and he could confirm that was a member of the Ghost Mark clan due to his special physique. Shi Yin was certain about it. There was demon chi and adequate conditions for living beings, which confirmed that the demon clan was in there. However, seeing the Ghost Mark clan's member there, Shi Yin assumed that the demon clan had encountered big trouble and were forced to get back to their homeland. Thoughts crossed his head continually. Shi Yin pondered, following the soul consciousness's direction towards that space slit. This space split was quite peaceful and large. Perhaps Bao'eo and Jieji had renovated this place before. The chaotic, unpredictable space energy waves were restrained by the strange demon techniques, so this place wasn't as dangerous as Shi Yin had thought. After he reached the true God realm, his understanding of the space power had increased by one more level. However, the more he knew, the better he understood the dangers of space slits. Although he understood space power, entering the perilous space slits could always take his life away. Many terrible space cracks contain the evilest creatures in the world, along with the most intimidating natural formations. Many space cracks were exactly like giant slaughtering machines, which could destroy every creature, including the god souls. The chaotic space basin was one of the most hazardous places. The furious, disordered flows of space in there could destroy the god soul, or smash the king god realm's warriors into pulp. This was why he didn't dare to enter the other entrance of the ice and fire secret domain, which had the chaotic space basin. Although he was worried about Xia Xian Yin, for the future of the entire family and the human clan, he chose not to take risks. This showed how tremendously dangerous the place was. Swoosh! Like a gust of wind, he glided through the space slit. Immediately, he felt the light in his eyes had vanished as he stepped in a dark, gloomy world. The second demon area. Chapter 689. The second demon area. Chapter 689. The second demon area. Just like many other secret domains, there were no sun, moon, stars, or spiritual chi of heaven and earth in this area. Shi Yin only saw the thick clusters of demonic clouds on the horizon. The air in the demon area was cold and dry. Strong gusts rolled and slaughtered everywhere like small, sharp blades. There was nothing like spring or sunlight here. Unlike the Grace mainland, which didn't have night and darkness anymore, this place was dark and gloomy, which would affect visitors' vision, as they couldn't see anything further than 10 meters. The ground was ink black, as if it were dyed with a thick layer of ink, giving people a heavy pressure. Shi Yin floated in the air, looking afar. He saw many large holes on the ink-black ground. They were like the 9 Serenity's abyss, that they couldn't see their bottom, or the giant mouth of a demonic beast, hiding many mysterious dangers. Some holes were larger than 1,000 miles in diameter, such that people couldn't see any beam of light or even their own fingers there. The darkness that filled the place was terrifying, like a black hole in space that could swallow everything, making people startle in fright. The dark ground had some foliage. However, all of them looked ferocious, with sharp blades on their leaves and branches. Each tree was at least 100 meters high, rooted deep in the earth like a giant monster. Under the cold gust, branches with sharp blades slowly rattled, reflecting the dark, cold beams of light. Many demonic beasts were moving in the immense forest. Usually, demonic beasts were savage. They would never stay idle. They had to compete all the time, fighting and killing the other beasts to survive. The world of beasts here had only killing competitions. Only high-level existences could gain intelligence and mighty powers to trigger the power that always hid in their souls. The ground here was ink-black, and the forest was perilously immense. Many demolished palaces were seen in the abyss. Sometimes, Yin could see pieces of Demogorgon giant statues under so many layers of dust. If he didn't observe carefully, he would never see them. This was the second demon area, a relatively large space outside the Grace mainland, which had demon chi, and hence was pretty suitable for the demon clan to stay in and cultivate. Early in the antiquity time, this land had been exploited, becoming the home of many small tribes of the demon clan. Long time ago, this land had many treasures, including some rare stones and metals that couldn't be found in the Grace mainland. Those were really good for forging powerful secret treasures. The demon clan was once incomparably strong. During the antiquity time, they had claimed all the rich spaces. The first, the second, the third, and the fourth demon areas in those times were the place people had to gawk at and envy. Due to the mighty power of this clan, they had 4 areas to nurture their people, making them stronger quickly. Yin hovered under the ink-black demon clouds, releasing his soul consciousness to sense and search for energy fluctuations of living beings. Not long after his soul consciousness had crossed 30,000 miles, a living being's energy flow shot back to his sea of consciousness, running directly to his god soul. Yin frowned, but he didn't hesitate. He urged his power to gather the mysteries of space power. Space ripples appeared in front of him, each ripple carrying his soul consciousness. Under his feet, the land seemed to move backward, just like a big curtain being pulled away. All forests and abysses disappeared instantly. He was crossing space using the magical power of space, which accelerated him tremendously. The land didn't move. What was moving were his body, spirit, mind, and soul. Dead bodies of the Demon Clan, the Ghost Mark Clan, the Dark Spirit Clan, the Corpse Clan, and the Dark Clan scattered under his feet while he was crossing through space. Yin didn't linger to investigate. At the moment, he knew that a war had happened here, so he would obviously see many corpses scattered everywhere in this demon area. Although the Ghost Mark Clan, the Dark Spirit Clan, the Corpse Clan, and the Dark Clan had joined hands, they would never get the absolute advantage in this land. This was the Demon Clan's territory, the homeland which they were familiar with the most, having the thick demon chi. In this area, even if they were weaker, it wouldn't be easy to chew them. Yan's soul consciousness had locked that soul energy fluctuation. Under the effect of his space power, Yan's soul consciousness could make a passage with the energy resonance. After 1 hour, he could reach his target. That was a massive abyss covering the area of 1,000 miles squared. Dark demon chi was rolling together with howls and roars of beasts. Bodies were piled around the abyss. Most of them were Demon Clan's clansmen and their mounts. The others were the corpses of the Dark Clan and the Ghost Mark Clan. Their blood was dried, becoming a dark red layer that was sticking on the dark ground. The bloody scent was still very thick, rising from the abyss. The fight down there hadn't ended yet. Yin frowned, looking into the dark abyss, where he couldn't see his own fingers. He decided to sneak in. He owed Bao Ao and Jieji a favor. The ones attacking the Demon Clan today should be the experts of the other 4 clans. Although Yin had reached the true God realm, he wasn't so sure. This time, he could get hurt like the other members of the Demon Clan, or he would have to bury his body in this demon area. Yet, he plunged down anyway. Along his way, demon chi burst out torrentially. Cold gusts slaughtered through the demon chi, bringing the thick, pungent scent of blood. Gradually, Yin could see the vague light down there. It seemed some special intent domains were expanding, creating the strange magnetic fields. Boom boom. Waves of ear-splitting explosion reverberated from underground. Big chunks of dark stone scattered, being flung everywhere, bringing with them tremendous energy. Swoosh! 100-meter-long beast was thrown away, rocketing into the air and almost hitting Yin. That beast had a sharp horn on the head, and dark green scales covered its entire body. However, it had so many bleeding wounds that Yin could even see the bones under its flesh. Its life was sliding away. Apparently, he couldn't help it. Yin frowned. This beast was a level 7 one, equal to a human warrior in the Sky Realm. It seemed to be struck to death with only 1 strike. The attacker should be a spirit realm expert. Roar! Shi Yin roared like a flying dragon. His cry reverberated everywhere. He dashed quickly, crossing 100 miles in just a blink and falling into the pitch-black abyss. This immense abyss had many transparent crystals inlaid on the walls. They weren't black, but were radiating like 5-colored precious gems, illuminating the bottom of the abyss. Around 1,000 warriors of the demon clan were roaring and crying on their beasts. Members of the Dark Clan and Ghost Mark Clan were chasing after them, getting them involved in battles. Lights shot out from everywhere, together with lightning strikes. Dark treasures and demon treasures impacted, sparking dazzlingly. 3 Yama Kings and the 2 experts of the Ghost Mark Clan were surrounding 2 clansmen of the Demon Clan. They were struggling, but their faces were still savage. Their mounts were dying. The 2 demons cried furiously, as if they wanted to risk their lives altogether. They were Bo Ruo and Gu Desi. Shi Yin knew them. They were the members of the ancient Bao family, Bao Ao's subordinates. Bo Ruo and Gu Desi were furious. Under the attacks of the 3 Yama Kings and the 2 hotshots of the Ghost Mark clan, they were still bravely resisting. One of the Ghost Mark clansmen had the aura and the soul fluctuation of Cassidy. Bo Ruo and Gu Sida had fallen into the disadvantaged situation. They had so many wounds on their body, and their armors had countless tiny cracks. Star falls. Shi Yin showed himself. He floated and shouted, not caring if the others would notice him. Starlight blazed gloriously, condensing into diamonds in between his hands. They were revolving, falling from his hands like the Milky Way descending from the sky. Flows of eternal star-intent domain diffused from each star, as they were arraying into a strange star formation. They moved as fast as meteors, making beautiful curves in the air before descending. The stars hit members of the Dark Clan and Ghost Mark Clan, burning them with star flames. Starlight twirled around their bodies as they were dying. Crack! Shi Yin shouted, pointing towards the place where the 3 Yama Kings were standing. A space crack appeared, shooting billion of space light beams. The 3 Yama Kings acted as if they had met ghosts. They were frightened, moving instantly with grimaced faces. A terrifying suction force was released from that space crack. If they weren't quick enough, once they got pulled into that space, they would have to die for sure. The space crack was perilous. Furthermore, they couldn't locate it, as it could tear space and appear anywhere. It was the deadliest place to be in. Once a creature got into that space, without spiritual chi or energy, its consciousness would shatter, which was more terrible than death. You brat again. A member of the Ghost Mark clan smiled sickly. He had a young appearance, but his aura was senile, which was pretty similar to Cassidy. It's you. Bo Ruo and Gu Desi of the Demon Clan also screamed, wearing an astounded complexion. Bo Ruo still wore male costumes. She was extraordinarily handsome. However, due to the battle, her bun was loosened. Her black hair cascaded like a soft black stream, lingering on her round rear end. She had a small horn on her head, which was the holder of her bun. It was revealed now. It was the distinctive feature of the Horned Dragon clan. Gu Desi belonged to the Black Scale clan. His black scales on his body had grown directly from his skin. He was holding the 2-bladed axe, which had blood on it. This weapon had an earth-shaking murderous aura, as it had drunk a lot of blood apparently. You are Cassidy? You have a body again? Shi Yin slightly changed his visage as he was assessing the young man of the Ghost Mark clan. He sensed, then shouted in fear. When they were in the perpetual night forest, he had destroyed Cassidy's body, making his god's soul run away. After just 1 year, Cassidy had returned with a stronger aura. True. Haha, it's me. Cassidy beamed a gloomy smile. You ambushed me when my power hadn't restored yet. It's my fortune that our patriarch has supernatural powers. He has helped me build a new body and restore my power. If my patriarch didn't want to attack the demon clan first, we would have killed you in the forest already. I will skin you alive. Haha, it's good that you have brought yourself here, too good. The Ghost Mark clan still had a patriarch, an existence which was even more dangerous than Kamaro's. Shi Yin discolored in fright. Chapter 690. In Spirit Ghost Flame. Chapter 690. In Spirit Ghost Flame. Shi Yin hovered in the abyss deep underground. His face was as still as water, while his mind was seething. Shi Yin felt his heart sink into a dark pit. If the Ghost Mark clan had a patriarch that was more powerful than Kamaro's, it would be a big catastrophe pouring on human clan. This clan had a deep grudge against humanity. They had made killing the entire human clan their goal. Anyway, with their mighty force, human clan would be eradicated soon. According to Cassidy, the top priority of his patriarch wasn't the human clan, as he had laid his eyes on the demon clan. Otherwise, Shi Yin would have had no time or chance to break through to the true God realm. While he had so many thoughts in his head, Cassidy attacked him. Soul drawing. Cassidy sneered. His 10 fingers wiggled, releasing an energy that could tear the soul. 10 flows of strange soul fluctuation that naked eyes couldn't see coiled around Shi Yin like tenacious ropes, tightening gradually. Cassidy had eaten the bitter fruit once. He knew that once soul energy entered Shi Yin's sea of consciousness, something strange would happen. This time, he was more careful, as he didn't send his 10 flows of soul energy into Shi Yin's sea of consciousness, but turned them into invisible ropes and wound around Shi Yin's body. A furious pulling force appeared from the 10 soul ropes. It seemed that it could coil Shi Yin's newly formed God soul, dragging it from the altar. Shi Yin discolored drastically. The God soul was the root of a warrior, which stored the life seal and the seals of Upanishad. Once it was dragged out of his body, it meant his life had come to an end. Cassidy's power Upanishad had aimed at the God soul. He wanted to forcefully drag Shi Yin's God soul out of his body. Once the God soul was pulled out, he couldn't perform many of his martial techniques. At that moment, he would become a fish that he could cut as he pleased. Of course, Shi Yin wouldn't stay idle. Burn. A thought crossed Shi Yin's mind. He shouted, and a white jade flame sparked from his eyes. In the beginning, it was small. Shortly, it had turned into a seething fire covering his entire body. Flows of white jade flames twirled around him like water. Cassidy's 10 soul ropes were covered, sizzling in an immense gray mist. They were all burned down. 9 Serenity's soul-devouring flame. Heaven flame. Cassidy discolored in fright. Eventually, he understood why he had to face the bitter results so many times. He paled immediately. The Ghost Mark clan was good at using Soul Upanishad. Their supernatural abilities had a close relationship with soul. That was also why they had become one of the most powerful, evilest clans. Many human beings, despite their higher realms, had only a tragic ending under their terrifying soul attacks. However, it was no doubt the soul-class defensive treasures were the things the Ghost Mark clan was afraid of the most. And the heaven flame that could burn all kind of soul energies was no doubt their nemesis. Thus, seeing the white jade flame covering Shi Yin, Cassidy felt as if someone had punched him in the face. He felt so bitter. His 10 soul ropes were burned completely. Cassidy's God soul got hurt the second time. He hurried to back off, as his face distorted terribly. The 9 Serenity's soul-devouring flame seemed to have an unclear grudge against the Ghost Mark clan. After it appeared, the flame hesitated for a while before dashing towards Cassidy, as if it had to burn the man into ashes. Cassidy hastened to run away, urging the mysterious power to resist the flame. Other Ghost Mark clan's members around them scattered in fear, trying to find the way to hide from the flame. However, the 9 Serenity's soul-devouring flame burned their souls. The Ghost Mark clan wasn't good at using the other power Upanishads. If they were another clan, although the 9 Serenity's soul-devouring flame had locked them, they could use the other techniques or energies to counter. However, the power this clan was cultivating was related closely with souls. All the barriers, formations, and defense they had released depended on soul energy. When they met the 9 Serenity's soul-devouring flame, their archenemy, they could only be termed as unlucky, as their barriers and restrictions would be burned as soon as the flame touched them. Gradually, they had no defensive power left. The 9 Serenity's soul-devouring flame seemed to have a big grudge against the Ghost Mark clan. After it had flown away from Shi Yan's altar, it kept chasing after the Ghost Mark clan's members, burning their souls. As it had burned the souls of dozens of the Ghost Mark clan's clansmen, it was still gazing at Cassidy. Another expert of the Ghost Mark clan was struggling to resist the flame. However, he could do nothing but run away as fast as possible. Nine Serenity's soul-devouring flame was one of the heaven flames, and it was also the nemesis of this race. They had no way to resist its force. At this moment, they couldn't do anything else but leave. They needed to avoid this disaster first. Only then they could have time to think of the countermeasures. Shi Yan gawked, dropping his jaws. Only at this moment did he finally understand the Nine Serenity's soul-devouring flame's intimidation. Where the white jade flames swept over, all the soul fluctuations were washed away. Members of the Ghost Mark clan had no way to withstand it. Soon, members of the Ghost Mark clan quickly left the abyss, leaving several hundred bodies while running for their lives. A flow of white flame took one circle and then returned to Shi Yan. Like a jade flower, it exposed the eccentric beauty of danger in this abyss. Bo Ruo, Gu Desi, and the hotshots of the demon clan couldn't say anything. Their eyes brightened as they exhaled in relief. It was strange that the three Yama King didn't leave or try to support the Ghost Mark clan. I have a grudge against this race. The Nine Serenity's soul-devouring flame sent its thought to Shi Yan when it came back. People of this race had sealed me. They couldn't kill me, so they decided to confine me. Shi Yan suddenly recognized it. It was true. When he was in the place of the Dark Devil clan in the Chasm battlefield, he got the Nine Serenity's soul-devouring flame in the Beast Mountain. The Dark Devil clan was a branch of the Ghost Mark clan. So, the one who had sealed the Nine Serenity's soul-devouring flame was related to the Ghost Mark clan. This wasn't a surprise. The Nine Serenity's soul-devouring flame's features had made it the nemesis of the Ghost Mark clan. This race had to find any means they could reach to destroy this flame. Letting it survive meant planting an indefinite seed of danger for the clan, which they wouldn't know when it would sprout and kill them all. If Shi Yan were the hotshot of the Ghost Mark clan, he would try many things to seal the Nine Serenity's soul-devouring flame as well. Where are Bao Ao and Jieji? Shi Yan turned around, looking at Bo Ruo and Gu Desi. You guys separated? Bo Ruo was a member of the Horn Dragon clan. Her long hair cascaded along her body, touching the ground. Her face was as beautiful as a gem, decorated with her phoenix eyes. Hearing him, she snorted and then said, "The two masters are in another area. Stronger enemies are attacking them. Because of you, they have joined hands and attacked our masters." Shi Yan was surprised. At this moment, he found that the creature in the dim halo weren't staying with the three Yama Kings. Also, Shi Yan didn't see the hotshots of the other clans like Kamaros, Corpse Chief, and Candy. From this situation, he could assume that Bao Ao and Jieji were in big trouble. It's the demon clan who had raised the dispute, Yama King Abi harumphed. He coldly looked at Bo Ruo and Gu Desi. If the patriarch of the Ghost Mark clan hadn't been revived, you guys would have killed them all. You have triggered this great war. Of course, we won't stay idle and let you slaughter us. Bo Ruo and Gu Desi darkened their faces. If you guys want to do whatever you want and open the first demon area, we have to destroy the demon clan, shouted Yama King Haitian. The three Yama Kings glared at Shi Yan. Their visages were strange, as if they considered Shi Yan their delicious prey. The three Yama Kings didn't talk more. They gathered their followers and left after the Ghost Mark clan. Shi Yan didn't understand anything, but he had a strange, uneasy feeling in his heart. From the looks of the three Yama Kings when they left, they seemed to be interested in him more, as if he had something marvelous on his body. This surprised him a lot. Shortly, all the members of the Dark Clan had retreated. Bo Ruo pinned up her long hair, adjusting her clothes. In the next moment, she returned to look like an elegant, handsome young man. However, her complexion was cold like a gloomy, sharp sword. Abi, Haitian, and Hades might have sent the news already. He will come soon. Bo Ruo frowned, whispering to Shi Yan, "Why did you use the heaven flame? It will bring more troubles." Shi Yan squinted, talking faintly. Why do you say so? The dim halo that Abi, Haetion, and Hades have protected carries the soul of the Dark Clan sage. That soul has the Een spirit ghost flame. If he knows you have heaven flames, he will come and collect your flames. Heaven flames can absorb each other. If he can absorb your heaven flames, his soul will become more intimidating, Bo-Rua explained agitatedly. A streak of light sparkled in Shi Yan's eyes. In the antiquity time, a sage of the underworld had fallen into bedevilment during his cultivation. His body got shattered, and his soul had sunk into the Een spirit ghost sea of the underworld. It then gathered the billion Een spirits of the Een spirit ghost sea to evolve into the Een spirit ghost flame. The Een spirit ghost flame contained the knowledge of the martial path of the underworld sage. If the Dark Dweller got it, he could become the new leader of that Dark Dweller's generation. The Een spirit ghost flame could control the Een spirit and the wandering ghosts. It was ranked number 6 among the heaven flames, and was the most suitable flame to the Dark Clan. According to Bo-Rua, the creature that the 3 Yama kings Abi, Haetion, and Hades had protected was the soul of a sage of the Dark Clan. He had the Een spirit ghost flame, but he didn't have a body. At this moment, he still had many weaknesses. If he could absorb some heaven flames and get stronger, he could use the scorching power of the heaven flame to condense a new body. At that time, he would be extremely intimidating. Chapter 691. The Statues of the Demogorgon. Chapter 691. The Statues of the Demogorgon. The Een spirit ghost flame was special, as only soul-formed beings could absorb it. This cold flame had the energy power that could control the spirits or wandering ghosts of the underworld. At the same time, it contained the martial path of the underworld sage. Apparently, a creature of the underworld had occupied this flame. However, he didn't have a body anymore. That was how his soul could merge with the Een spirit ghost flame. He needed to create a new body to promote his supernatural powers. To create a body, it normally required the strong flesh and blood to be refined by the scorching heaven flame. If he could have another heaven flame, his soul would be mightier, and the chance of having a body could be bigger. The heaven flames could devour each other. This was why the world-extinguishing thunder flame wanted to swallow the 9 serenity soul-devouring flame, the ice-cold flame, and the earth flame. If it could merge with the 2 other heaven flames, it would be more powerful than itself. That Dark Clan's creature wanted Shi Yan's heaven flames, and Shi Yan was moved on hearing about the Een spirit ghost flame. The more heaven flames he had, the stronger the heaven flame altar in his brain would become. At that time, he could urge more intimidating power of those flames. If he could occupy the Een spirit ghost flame and merge it with the 9 serenity soul-devouring flame, the corpse-vanishing flame, the ice-cold flame, and the earth flame in the sacrificial altar, this tier of the altar would be sharply increased to another level. Shi Yan also wanted the flame of that creature. He exists in the soul form only. It shouldn't be hard to deal with him, right? He kept silent for a while before his eyes got brightened. It's not hard to deal with him? Gu Deci beamed a forced smile. His scarred face became more ferocious with that smile. Although he only has the soul, he has the strange weapons of the Dark Clan. He has a layer of tens of thousands of Een spirits and wandering ghosts around him. I think even Master Bao Ao couldn't be sure if he could defeat him or not. The corner of Shi Yan's mouth twitched. As Bao Ao and Jieji had taken one step into the King God realm, they were the formidable experts of the peak of True God realm. If the demon chi in the demon area had been thick enough, they would have reached the King God realm earlier with their innate talents. In this land, except for the King God realm experts, not many people could really threaten Bao Ao and Jieji. Even Chi Tian Oldie Long, Zhu wasn't their opponent. If Bao Ao and Jieji weren't that creature's match, even if Shi Yan, after having reached the True God realm with mysterious power Upanishads, he could never defeat that soul of the Dark Clan. Then, Shi Yan couldn't help but smile miserably. He shook his head begrudgingly, as he was filled with pressure. "Why do they want to stop you from opening the first demon area?" asked Shi Yan. "Wait until you meet our master, he will tell you." Bo-Rua put on a glum face as if she really hated him. She didn't want to explain further. Shi Yin rubbed his nose. As he thought it wasn't interesting, he didn't want to chase further. Bao Ao and Jieji didn't explain in details to Bo Ruo and Gu Disi about the relationship between them and Shi Yin. In their eyes, it was hard to reason why their masters had turned their backs to the other alien tribes for a human brat. If Bao Ao and Jieji didn't protect them, Shi Yin's city would have been demolished. It was normal that the human clan would have been eradicated. This was their original plan. However, after Bao Ao found Shi Yin, everything had turned upside down. Their plan wasn't going as they had expected. Bo Ruo and Gu Disi didn't know what their masters had thought. They didn't support this idea, so they deemed Shi Yin as the ringleader of all the bad things. Corpses of the demon clan's members scattered everywhere in the second demon area, including their fellows of the Horn Dragon tribe and the Black Scale tribe. They had blamed their fellows' deaths on Shi Yin. "Let's go," Bo Ruo harumphed, then walked to a hefty stone in the abyss. That stone was really massive. It was around 100 meters tall, ink black and as rigid as steel. More than 700 members of the demon clan, ridding their beasts, gathered from the other areas in the abyss. They had many wounds, and were looking at Shi Yin with hatred in their eyes. Gu Disi's mountain-like muscular body was covered with wounds. He didn't care about that and came to that stone. He extended his arm, touching that stone. A wave of brutal energy was poured into that massive stone. It then moved, cracking and revealing a pitch-black entrance. Bao Ao is in there? Shi Yin used his soul consciousness to sense for a while. He was surprised that this passage was empty, as he couldn't detect any energy beam of living fluctuation. He couldn't help but ask. "No." Bo Ruo screamed impatiently. She took the lead and entered the wide passage that could allow 100 people walk shoulder by shoulder. Bo Ruo and Gu Disi took their members and the beasts and walked through the passage easily. Shi Yin wasn't enraged. He calmly walked behind Bo Ruo and Gu Disi into the entrance. The wall of this entrance was also black, as if it was made of black, rigid metal. Some precious gems were inlaid on the wall, illuminating the passage. Waiting until 100 demons and beasts got into the entrance, the stone behind them slowly moved, sealing the entrance. Bo Ruo and Gu Disi walked in the front, while Shi Yin followed them. The group of people entered deeper into the entrance. Everyone wore a dark face, and no one uttered a word. The ambience of this entrance was stiff. In this silent place, many members of the demon clan were wearing a cold face, looking at Shi Yin with their bloodthirsty eyes, as if they were trying to press down their resentment. Demon Clan didn't like humans. Shi Yin was a human being, a special human that their masters favored. In those clansmen's eyes, Shi Yin had brought death to their fellows. After all, they would never dare to blame Bao Ao and Jieji. This passage was dry, but it had the smell of rotten things. There was no decoration or anything magical. This place brought only a cold and hard feeling, which irritated people's hearts and minds. They had been walking for several hours. However, Bo Ruo and Gu Disi hadn't said a word. Shi Yin also kept his mouth shut. His soul consciousness scanned the place, and got to know that this passage was tens of thousands of miles long, as if it would never end. At the same time, it was a spacious place, which was a megastructure underground. After another 4 hours, when Shi Yin was so bored he got irritated, Bo Ruo and Gu Disi suddenly put on a serious countenance, their face respectful and fearful. Shi Yin focused on them, observing these two. The ink-black wall in front of Bo Ruo and Gu Disi suddenly had some magical demon patterns, which looked like the lines on a human palm. They were complicated and mysterious at the same time. Bo Ruo and Gu Disi stood at that place, biting their fingers to drip their blood on those lines. The demon patterns glowed abruptly like a massive spider web. Those peculiar patterns glowed with silver, green, blue, and orange lights. In this ill-lit passage, they looked both evil and mysterious. A light spot suddenly flashed in the center of the spider web. A light then expanded, sending strange energy fluctuations, lingering and twisting each line. A massive black door emerged in the light. It was 10 meters tall and a dozen of meters wide. Demon chi diffused torrentially from the door. Bo-Ruo and Gu-Desi threw a look over their shoulder, looking at Shi Yin as they entered the door, without a word. Shi Yin smiled clumsily. He got through the door, not waiting for the others to call him. An ancient, spacious grand palace appeared in his sight. This palace was 1,000 meters tall, with an open center, in an area of 10 miles squared. The center of this palace had many giant black pillars decorated with drawings of demonic beasts. Demon scriptures were carved on the walls outside the palace. Each paragraph was inexplicably complicated, as though it was carrying a mysterious power. A deep pond sat in the center of the palace, where a black flame was burning, releasing a thick demon chi. Standing in the center of the black flame in the pond were 7 ferocious-looked Demogorgon statues. Each of them was 100-meter tall, as lively as a real person, with ruthless energy waves. Shi Yin stood by that pond as he lifted his head to watch the grand statues. He felt he was so small. Bo-Ruo and Gu-Desi took the clansmen of the demon clan kneel down by the pond, using the worshipping etiquette of the demon clan with solemn faces. The beasts who came with them seemed to be affected too. They laid down on the ground, gazing at the beast drawings on many pillars in the hall, as if they could receive some energy from them. Vastly through 10,000 years, the Demogorgons will doesn't extinguish. Vastly through 10,000 years, the Demogorgons will doesn't extinguish. Bo-Ruo and Gu-Desi kneeled together with their fellows, looking at the 7 statues of the ferocious Demogorgon, hailing them with a strange language. At the moment the voices arose, their mind, spirit, and chi had fused with their energy, turning into many beams, rolling into the 7 statues. It was unknown what kind of material they had used to produce those 7 Demogorgon statues. However, a kind of magical energy was moving continually inside the statues, and it seemed to never fade. Bo-Ruo, Gu-Desi, and the hotshots of the demon clan had used their minds, spirit, chi, and their willpower to create a connection with some power in the 7 Demogorgon statues. They seemed to use that power to test their latest progress and gain more flashes of comprehension. The 7 statues of Demogorgon were like the special existence of the soul sacrificial altar of the corpse clan, which stored the seal of Upanishads of the demon clan and never lost them. Chapter 692. Derive the Inheritance. Chapter 692. Derive the Inheritance. The power Upanishad in those Demogorgon statues was the essence of the demon clan's best techniques, just like the martial arts, martial spirit, and other power Upanishad of human clan. However, human warriors usually used books and scriptures to learn the inheritance, while the demon clan used those statues to gain the pure energy that they were cultivating. These 7 Demogorgon statues seemed to carry kinds of energy and ancient seals of Upanishad, or some new powers that they had just created lately in the second demon area. New members of the demon clan would come here to take the powers. Experts of the clan would visit this place to record the new power Upanishad they had discovered and developed, that the others could come and take it as their inheritance. These 7 Demogorgon statues carried the culture, Upanishad, essence, and the inheritance of the demon clan. This place was the cradle of the second demon area, the most precious thing they had. As Bo-Ruo, Gu-Desi, and the other experts of the demon clan had new cognition of their powers after the battle, they came here to use the 7 Demogorgon statues to verify and gain the cultivating techniques that were more suitable to them. The 7 Demogorgon statues were inexplicably mysterious. They were the great combination of power Upanishads. They could store the knowledge and the way to use energy. All members of the demon clan were humming, connecting themselves with the statues to find the suitable powers for them to learn and break through. Shi Yin gawked as he was astounded because of the demon clan's magic. The way they used the statues to impart their inheritance and culture seemed to be more powerful than using books. Books would be damaged with time. Most of the time, the reason why some martial techniques were lost was because the owners were killed and they didn't leave any books to record their power Upanishad. In such a case, a power Upanishad would disappear forever. The demon clan didn't do the same. They used the carvings on those statues to store the power Upanishads they had gained from the ancient times up to now. Whenever an expert learned a new technique, he would carve it on the statues. Other members could inherit his new technique from the statues or could use it to break through later. From this point of view, the demon clan was a generous clan. They weren't like the human clan who always considered the powers they got a big treasure, which they would never share with the others. Shi Yin suddenly got it. It was no longer unknown why the demon clan was so strong. They had recorded the knowledge and wisdom of the experts in the demon area on those statues, which would help the next generation save time and effort in learning new techniques. That's why people said that Demon Clan had no weak members, and that everybody was a solider. It was related closely to the Demogorgon statues. Each new member of the Demon Clan could come to this place and receive the inheritance under their senior's guidance. It would be much easier for them to cultivate their powers later. It wasn't like the human clan that only outstanding people could become the disciples of famous experts and enter the martial path. This was also the reason why only a small group among the crowd of tens of thousands of people could become warriors. Human clan, because of their selfishness, wouldn't use this method to preserve the power Upanishads and leave to the next generations, making it an open source for the youths to choose their road of cultivation. Bo Ruo, Gu De Si, and the other members of the demon clan were still humming, connecting with the 7 Demogorgon statues to feel the mysteries of the power, to learn them and use them for their next battles. Shi Yin stood there motionlessly. He didn't look harmonious with the rest of the demon clan, who were kneeling on the ground. Anyway, no one cared about him, as they were busy connecting with the Demogorgon statues. They weren't worried that Shi Yin would disturb them or break the statues. Shortly, the inner world 5 devils in his blood vein ring seemed to sense something. They struggled, getting out of the ring. After the 5 devils had absorbed 36 ghostly spirits in the ring, they had grown up vigorously, with mighty, evil soul fluctuations. As soon as the 5 devils got out, they didn't wait for Shi Yin to say anything, flying directly towards the 7 Demogorgon statues, disappearing shortly. Shi Yin was dumbstruck. Bo Ruo and the experts of the demon clan seemed to not recognize this sudden occurrence. They were still meditating to learn something. However, Shi Yin was so frightened. His soul consciousness flickered, and he found that he still had the connection with the 5 devils. The 5 devils had entered the statues, and they seemed to take in the powers there happily. This finding astounded Shi Yin a lot. The 5 devils were taking the power Upanishad that the demon clan had been imparting for tens of thousands of years in the statues. What kind of F***king situation is it? The 5 devils' absorption speed was rapid. Shortly, they left one statue to go to another. The connection between Shi Yin and the 5 devils became clearer. He found a large amount of knowledge of new realms, demon techniques, and methods he didn't know. When the 5 devils were taking in the power of the statues, it wasn't that they were erasing the powers and knowledge stored in there, as they had just restored the streaks of cognition in their own souls. So, they didn't cause any anomaly to the statues that Bo Ruo and the others could recognize. The number of techniques and power Upanishads wasn't changed. Only Shi Yin knew that the 5 devils had changed slowly. Their aura became more eccentric, as if they were gaining intellect. Shortly, the 5 devils had turned into 5 gray shadows, flying to a sea of consciousness instead of the blood vein ring, before Bo Ruo's group could recognize them. His sea of consciousness was changed again. After the 5 devils had entered, they proactively found a place, gathering in a circle and releasing flows of magical techniques of the demon clan. The 5 devils were now based a little bit farther from the tier of the heaven flame and the seals of Upanishads. They seemed to condense a part of the mysterious tier. Shi Yin was more startled. Currently, he had a 3-tiered altar in his head with the sea of consciousness as the bottom, the heaven flames and power Upanishads as the 2nd tier, and his god soul topping them all. At this moment, the 5 devils had expanded a section in the 2nd tier, building a sacrificial altar similar to the heaven flames and power Upanishads. Shi Yin didn't know what would be stirred up due to this change. He didn't know how to stop them. He could only gawk at the 5 devils, after they had absorbed the mysteries of demon techniques, rolling in his sea of consciousness. Right after that, flows of black flame on the pond nearby started to roll over Shi Yin, as if they were pulled by some mysterious power. Those black flames weren't a real fire. They were the demon chi that was condensed to carry the massive demon energy. Flows of flames covered him as if he were burned by a black fire. Only he knew that the 5 devils had dragged the demon energy in this black fire to configure a new altar. Muscles and blood in his body surged all together. Drops of immortal blood that he had treasured were pulled out, gathering in his sea of consciousness. The mix of his immortal blood chi, demon chi, and the strange aura of the demon techniques had become the foundation of the new altar. Shi Yin felt hurt seeing the 5 devils using his immortal blood. However, he had no way to stop them. In his mind, Shi Yin wanted to see what the 5 devils wanted to do. He vaguely felt that the 5 devils wouldn't harm him and instead would give him big benefits. Gradually, a shining blood section appeared. It was like a viscous blood sea, with a miraculous winding air floating above the sea. Demon chi then poured into the blood sea, turning it into a black and red sea. The 5 devils arrayed in a pentagonal formation. They stood imposingly like the 5 Demogorgon statues at the 5 corners, using his immortal blood, essence chi, demon chi, and the other techniques to condense a section similar to the altar of the heaven flames and the seals of Upanishad. A new section of the sacrificial altar. What are you doing? Bo Ruo suddenly screamed in fright. She awakened first, and she saw the black flame in the pond covering Shi Yin entirely. Suddenly, Gu Desi and the other members of the demon clan stood up. Their faces were ferocious, as if they all wanted to kill Shi Yin. This place was the holy land of the demon clan. The Hall of Demogorgon was the holy place, where all demons could take the mysterious powers of the clan. If Bao Ao and Jieji hadn't advised them, even if they had to die, they would have never brought Shi Yin here. He had come here obediently, and now he had caused something strange that made the thick demon chi cover his body. Bo Ruo's group couldn't stand it. They hated that they couldn't slash Shi Yin 10,000 times to kill him. Nobody had witnessed the 5 devils taking the mysterious inheritance in the statues, so they didn't know that Shi Yin wasn't willing to do that. They assumed that Shi Yin wanted to mess this place up. Shi Yin couldn't answer her, as the 5 devils were torturing him in his head, consuming his soul consciousness and essence chi. At this moment, he couldn't get distracted. He had to observe the sea of consciousness, as he was afraid that something bad would happen. He didn't notice what was happening around him. This human has triggered the demon flame. He must have done something wrong. Kill him. Kill him. Kill him. Kill him. In just a blink, all members of the demon clan in the Hall of Demogorgon thundered. The Hall of Demogorgon was the holy place no one could trespass. The respect they had for this place was much more than what they had for Bao Ao and Jieji. Trespassing the Hall of Demogorgon meant someone wanted to uproot the demon clan in the second demon area. That person would never be forgiven. Bo Ruo and Gu Desi changed their face amidst the furious screams. At this moment, they got a headache as they didn't know how to calm down the situation. Before Bao Ao left them, he had asked them seriously to bring Shi Yin to the Demogorgon Hall if they found him, and they had to protect Shi Yin, keeping him safe and sound. However, Shi Yin seemed to trigger everyone's anger in this Hall of Demogorgon. Those clansmen were enraged, thinking that he had violated the hall. They must use his blood to wash this place. What should we do now? Gu Desi frowned, asking Bo Ruo in a low tone, his face begrudging. Master has advised us to keep him safe, but our demon clan has rules. Anyone who trespasses the Hall of Demogorgon would be executed. There's no exception even to our clansmen, let alone a human being. Bo Ruo also had a headache. We can't contact our master now. It's a headache. Erg, so annoying. Chapter 693, The Mark. Chapter 693, The Mark. In the Demogorgon Hall, Shi Yin was tense, watching the change of his sea of consciousness. A new section of the altar was formed gradually. The black flame was still engulfing him, making a large amount of demon chi run disorderly in his body. Most of it started to get into his sea of consciousness, while the remaining part ran through his vessels to reach his internal organs and limbs. The 5 devils in the pentagonal formation were bobbing in his sea of consciousness, gathering the tremendous energy to finish the final step. The screams of the demon clan's members thundered and reverberated in the hall of Demogorgon. Many clansmen were enraged as they all wanted to kill Shi Yin. Bo Ruo and Gu Deci couldn't control the current situation. Howl, howl, howl. Strong black flames like pieces of leaf engulfed Shi Yin. At this moment, a wave of pure demon energy diffused from him, lingering inside the hall. Many members of the demon clan saw Shi Yin's body taking in the black flames from the pond, giving him a demon, eccentric aura. The black ribbon covering his head fell, as an ancient mark glowed. A flow of torrential, immense soul energy surged from the mark, just like the heavenly might. Many members of the demon clan felt their souls tremble continually, such that they couldn't even stand still. They became grimaced. Bo Ruo and Gu Deci were stunned. They gawked at the mark on his head and couldn't hide the fear on their faces. The energy from the mark was clear. It was obviously the magical inheritance of the demon clan. As it was still sealed, the soul energy accumulated in that seal was earth-shaking. The mark on Shi Yin's forehead just flashed, then restored its normal state. However, the clansmen here had all felt a deep tremor in their souls. It was like an ancient Demogorgon was imposingly taking a walk around the hall, making them feel small and incapable of resisting. The thought of killing Shi Yin and Bo Ruo and Gu Deci's mind suddenly weakened. They stood there dumbstruck as they recalled the mark they had just seen. Famous ancient families of the demon clan all had the mighty marks, which stored the history, culture, and inheritance of the family. It was the special power Upanishad, but it wasn't like the Demogorgon statues. This kind of mark was carved on the body of the demon clan's clansmen. Just like the martial spirit of human warriors, it had tremendous powers and would never disappear. As Bo Ruo and Gu Deci belonged to the ancient Bao family, they had some knowledge of ancient marks. However, they had watched for a while but still couldn't figure out which family the mark on Shi Yin's head belonged to. However, they could verify one thing. Shi Yin wasn't human. Only people with the demon clan's bloodline could receive the mark, which was also the crest of the family. Persons who carried the mark couldn't be human. Their hatred towards Shi Yin faded after they had recognized Shi Yin was from the same clan. Clansmen who were the most hostile also calmed down, looking at him with surprise. At this moment, they finally recognized that Shi Yin was still absorbing the demon power of the black flame, and he seemed to be doing something. Demon Soul Sacrificial Altar. Bo Ruo observed for a while, and then shouted with astonishment. Gu Deci was frightened. She gazed at Shi Yin and asked Bo Ruo, "Are you sure?" The demon clan was like the other races. When they reached the true God realm, they could condense the sacrificial altar in their sea of consciousness. The demon clan's sacrificial altar had 3 tiers. The bottom was the sea of consciousness, the top was the demon soul, and the middle tier was the techniques and powers they had learned. This was the main cultivating path of many races. What Shi Yin was doing was to condense the demon soul sacrificial altar in the second tier of his altar. Bo Ruo was at the second sky of true God realm. After watching for a while, she could confirm this information, which astounded her greatly. Usually, when a warrior broke through the true God realm, he could create the soul sacrificial altar in his head. But it wouldn't change shortly. It was obvious that Shi Yin had reached the true God realm, and he had the soul sacrificial altar in his head. However, at this moment, it wasn't normal that he was condensing a tier once again. Bo Ruo and Gu Deci couldn't understand why he could change the structure of the soul altar for the second time. They couldn't enter Shi Yin's sea of consciousness. Otherwise, if they saw the heaven flame altar on Shi Yin's sea of consciousness beside the seals of Upanishad, they would be startled as if they had seen ghosts. When human warriors used one kind of power Upanishad to break through, this power would become the foundation of his altar's second tier when he reached the true God realm. Shi Yin's second tier had 3 seals of Upanishad, including the star, the death and life, and space, which was unusual. The heaven flame altar was an unreasonable area. This was so different from the cultivating path of normal people. Right when Bo Ruo and Gu Deci were still dumbstruck, Shi Yin inhaled a breath of dark demon qi. He opened his eyes and then grinned. It feels good. A new section of the altar was formed with his blood, essence chi, demon chi, mind, and spirit, to blend with the inheritance of the demon clan that the 5 devils had just absorbed. The 5 devils sat neatly on the 5 corners of the altar. They were motionless, connecting with his soul. Countless currents were moving in the center of the altar, generating a chaotic movement. It was the development of the demon techniques and mysteries that could connect with Shi Yin. When his thought flickering, his god soul ran into the altar. He then found many strange and rare demon cultivating and martial techniques. There were more than 1,000 techniques with different ways of using energy. However, they were just the basic ones. At the same time, he could find some complete and powerful cultivating techniques. That altar seemed to become a store that recorded the techniques that had been stored over tens of thousands of years in the 7 Demogorgon statues of the 2nd demon area. They were so complicated that he felt his head was enlarging. This place was like a giant bookstore. Those techniques and Power Upanishad were similar to the books of techniques that guided people on their cultivation path. Most of the techniques were categorized, specialized for different races. A method wasn't suitable for everybody, especially the demon clan, which had many branches with different, unique physiques. That's why those methods were classified. Shi Yin felt that he had entered the vast ocean of knowledge, where the techniques and method were the seawater that he could read and cultivate. But he soon found that that knowledge wasn't useful for him. All techniques and Power Upanishad specified which branch of the demon clan could cultivate them. The Black Scale tribe and the Horn Dragon tribe had different cultivating techniques. They were even contrasting to each other. The first thing he needed to know before starting cultivating a demon technique was to figure out which branch of the demon clan he belonged to. Without this information, although he had so many cultivating techniques and methods, and some of them were so mighty, he couldn't practice any of them. That sea of knowledge was the foundation of the altar. Without them, his altar could never be formed. Shi Yin was still musing, and he didn't notice Bo Ruo and Gu Desi's changes. Only when Bo Ruo made a dry cough did he then wake up. The 7 Demogorgon statues are the roots of our 2nd demon area. They keep the vast sea of knowledge. As you can build the altar, it means you've got the inheritance from the statues, right? Bo Ruo observed him and then asked. Shi Yin nodded. It's true. Although it wasn't the method you mentioned, I did have the inheritance from the statues. However, it seems I can't cultivate it. The inheritance of the statues in the 2nd demon area isn't the top-grade one. It doesn't have the Seal of Upanishads of the King God realm. Bo Ruo gazed at him. Anyway, the 1st demon area is different. Our masters said that the Demogorgon statues in the 1st demon area store the mysteries of power that the King God realm experts could study further. It's also why the 2 masters have to go there. Only receiving the inheritance from the statues in the 1st demon area can help them break through and advance. Shi Yin was sensitive enough to see the change of Bo Ruo. This woman was talking non-stop. Her impatience seemed to have vanished. Why did you tell me that? Shi Yin was bewildered, frowning. I understand the 2 masters' concern. Perhaps you are the key to open the 1st demon area, said Bo Ruo. Gu Desi's eyes brightened as he was excited. The other members of the demon clan were also stirred up, their faces surprised. The 1st demon area was the ancestral land of the demon clan. Demon chi there was as thick as water. It also had the top-grade Demogorgon statues, with more precious knowledge of the demon clan stored through generations. Once they got there, they could thrive. In their hearts, the 1st demon area was the Holy Land, which they always yearned for a glimpse of. As they knew that Shi Yin would be the key to open the 1st demon area, people who wanted to kill him weren't hostile anymore. Why do the other clans not want you to open it? Asked Shi Yin. It requires an enormous amount of heaven and earth energy to open the 1st demon area. The moment the 1st demon area opens, it will draw the energy of heaven and earth in the Grace mainland proactively. Bo Ruo hesitated for a while and then said, it would be all right if it were in the antiquity. At that time, heaven and earth energy was thick like the cluster of clouds that would never disperse. So, the required energy to open the demon area wasn't a big deal in that era. Pausing for a while, Borua said, "But it's different now. After tens of thousands of years, heaven and earth energy in this continent is thin and scattered. If we open the first demon area, it will take 1/3 of the energy. The other clans would never let this happen." Shi Yin was surprised. Chapter 694, Drawing of Lao Luo. Chapter 694, Drawing of Lao Luo. The heaven and earth energy was the cultivating foundation of the warriors. No matter it was spiritual chi, demon chi, dark chi, or mysterious yin chi, it was just a kind of heaven and earth energy. To the big clans, heaven and earth energy was essential for their survival and upgrades. They would never quit using it. After 10,000 years, the continent, which used to be filled with heaven and earth energy, now had just a thin layer left, which was also the reason why it was tough to see any king-god realm experts. Under the given circumstance of the shortage of heaven and earth's energy, of course, the other clans would never let Bao Ao and Jieji use 1/3 of it to open the first demon area. This explained why they wanted to uproot the demon clan. Using 1/3 of heaven and earth energy in the Grace mainland to open a demon area surprised Shi Yin. Borua explained him the situation and the reason why the other 4 great clans wanted to join hands and eradicate the demon clan. "Where are Bao Ao and Jieji? Where should we meet them?" Shi Yin pondered for a while and then asked. "In here," Borua pointed at the ground under her feet. "If Master Bao Ao and Jieji can escape, they will definitely get here. We should wait here. I hope they will be safe and sound." After she said that, many clansmen put on a heavy countenance. Worry sparkled in their eyes. This time, the Ghost Mark clan, the Dark Spirit clan, the Dark clan, and the Corpse clan had attacked them. These 4 clans had many hotshots, not to mention the patriarch of the Ghost Mark clan. Although they were confident about Bao Ao and Jieji's competence, under the furious attack of such mighty force, they were still worried a lot. They were especially worried about the threat that came from the reincarnated patriarch of the Ghost Mark clan and the one who had the Een spirit ghost flame of the Dark clan. Borua explained, then waved her hand to dismiss her fellows. The other members of the demon clan then started to talk and build the relationship with their demonic beasts. The relationship between the demon clan and the demonic beasts was always good. Some demons and their beasts would never separate, as they were the best partners of each other. Sometimes, their relationship was more than siblings. No matter how busy they were, they always spent time to use the soul to contact their beasts. This would increase their compatibility. Gudasi and the group of demons he led also found a corner and started to talk to their mounts using their souls. No one paid attention to Shi Yin. For the time being, no one noticed Shi Yin, who was sitting neatly in the spacious hall of Demogorgon. He became the idlest person at the moment. Shi Yin wasn't angry, as he could see the demon's attitude towards him had changed. It was enough as they didn't scream and want to kill him. In the hall of Demogorgon, Shi Yin put on an indifferent countenance and took a walk around the place. He observed the patterns and drawings on the pillars and on the walls, as he wanted to see if he could understand the mysteries of those drawings. This was a rare experience. To normal people, although their relationship with the demon clan wasn't bad, they weren't allowed to enter the hall of Demogorgon. Since this place was the place where they received the inheritance, they would never let any outsider trespass the hall. As he could visit the hall of Demogorgon today, it was his great honor. Each corner of the Demogorgon hall was filled with mysteries. Many young people of the demon clan could comprehend something while watching the patterns and drawings in this place. The hall of Demogorgon in the second demon area had been established a long time ago. Tens of thousands of years ago, when the demon clan exploited this area, the first thing they had done was to build the hall of Demogorgon. The hall of Demogorgon was the foundation of the demon clan. Wherever many members of the demon clan gathered, there existed the hall of Demogorgon. If the hall was demolished, it meant that the demon clan in that space had been eradicated. As the hall of Demogorgon had been built dozens of thousands of years ago, the beast's drawings and the demon scriptures were carved by the experts in that era. Sometimes, they would glow with a strange light, carrying some kind of marvelous intent domain. If it were a wise demon, he could gain the great benefit after comprehending it. Shi Yin just walked back and forth. He took turns after turns to observe many demon scriptures and drawings. Slowly, he reached a wall with many magical patterns. Those lines sketched a rough image of a giant demon facing the sky and howling. Behind him was a massive dark sun, which could swallow all beams of light. Shi Yin was startled. He vaguely had a familiar feeling that he had seen this giant demon before. War Devil. That was the War Devil. The demon on that drawing looked 70% similar to the War Devil. If the War Devil was zoomed several times and its eyes showed the endless darkness, the War Devil would look exactly like the demon in this drawing. This finding startled him. He felt inexplicably scared and surprised. War Devil was a dark clone of Lao Luo, one of the bloodthirsty's cortege of 8. However, Lao Luo was the worst among the 8. Why did he have his image carved here? According to Bo Ruo, this hall of Demogorgon had been built by the experts of the demon clan dozens of thousands of years ago. So, Lao Luo's image had been here from that time. In other words, how old was the era when Lao Luo lived? Members of the demon clan, who could have their images carved on the wall of the hall, were all earth-shaking experts. Their images represented the glory and power they had. This meant Lao Luo should have been very intimidating. Shi Yin didn't change his face, studying the drawings of Lao Luo for a while. Suddenly, he coughed. Bo Ruo was staying in with a young girl of the demon clan not far from him. Hearing his cough, she frowned. A streak of impatience flashed on her face. If she didn't have the features of the horned dragon tribe on her head, she wouldn't be different from a beautiful, wheat-skinned human girl. With a pair of phoenix eyes and a picturesque appearance, she was an outstanding beauty. The woman came, glaring at Shi Yin, and then at the drawing of Lao Luo. What's up? Who is the demon in this drawing? Shi Yin pretended to know nothing. Why is there a black sun behind him? He looked strange. I'm curious if he were a strong expert of the demon clan in the antiquity. I don't know who he is, but I know he must be one of the strongest hotshots of the demon clan in the antiquity. That's how he got his picture here. Bo Ruo furrowed her eyebrows and then continued. Only the members that made a great contribution to the clan with their mighty power could get the approval from the Hall of Demogorgon and become a drawing of the hall. How about the 7 statues of Demogorgon? Shi Yin was astounded. He couldn't help but look over his shoulder. The Demogorgon statues are the foundation of the demon clan's inheritance. Each statue is one of the Demogorgon in antiquity time, said Bo Ruo. What's the difference between the drawings on the wall and the statues? Could the one who get the picture here become a Demogorgon? Asked Shi Yin. You have so many questions. Bo Ruo was a little bit impatient. She contemplated for a while but still explained to him. Clansmen who have surpassed the king god realm could become the Demogorgon. After dozens of thousands of years, our entire demon clan has had only 7 Demogorgons. They are the 7 statues that you've seen here. Surpassed the king god realm? Shi Yin discolored. He looked at the 7 Demogorgon statues as a feeling of respect rose in his heart. This was the first time he had heard about someone who had surpassed the king god realm. Today, he had known that the king god realm wasn't the ultimate of the martial path. Beyond the king god realm, it was another world. So where are the 7 Demogorgons? Asked Shi Yin. They might have left. Bo Ruo wasn't so certain. Perhaps they are dead. We need to get into the first demon area to know the answer. Why? The 7 Demogorgon statues just contain the Power Upanishad. They can't interact. Bo Ruo hesitated for a while and then continued. According to Master Bo Ruo and Jieji, the 7 Demogorgon statues in the first demon area can interact with the others. As long as they aren't dead, the 7 Demogorgons could still send the Power Upanishad and their comprehensions of the martial path they have had in the universe to the statues, which will benefit our future generations. Shi Yin was astounded. They still could receive the Power Upanishad from the 7 Demogorgons in the foreign lands. If it were true, once Bao and Jieji entered the first demon area and received the inheritance from the statues, their realm and power should skyrocket, right? You are also a member of the demon clan. If you can receive the inheritance from this area, of course, you can receive the inheritance in the first demon area. If we can open the first demon area and find the top grade 7 Demogorgon statues, you will gain bigger benefits. Bo-Ruo looked at Shi Yin nonchalantly. Why did they leave? Shi Yin contemplated for a while and then asked. Heaven and earth energy in this continent isn't enough for them to level up anymore. Bo-Ruo sighed. The energy of this continent is really scarce at this moment. It's been 10,000 years, and we haven't seen any King God Realm warriors yet. It's because of the change of the energy. I heard our masters say that each continent has its own cycle of energy. At first, its energy is full. After creatures start to appear and absorb the energy, gradually, after dozens of thousands of years, the energy of the continent will be drained up. At some point in time, it will be over. Shi Yin was surprised. This continent seems to be reaching the end of its energy cycle. Perhaps, the energy of this place would empty out after another 1,000 years. Bo-Ruo shook her head begrudgingly. We don't have much time left. If we can't enter the true God realm sooner, we will have no way to escape. Later on, we will be dead because of running out of energy. Shi Yin felt like a hammer had just pounded on his heart. Shi Yin was now totally awakened, having a new cognition of heaven and earth. And he also had a deeper understanding of this continent. Chapter 695, Undying Demon Tribe. Chapter 695, Undying Demon Tribe. Shi Yin kept quiet, but he had thousands of thoughts in his head. He would never have known about the existence that surpassed the King God realm if Bo-Ruo didn't tell him. Also, now he knew that each continent had its own energy cycle, and the Grace mainland was at the end of its cycle. Soon, this place would run out of energy. He knew Bo-Ruo couldn't deceive him. From many old books, he had found that there were invincible existences in immemorial epoch, and each of them seemed to have endless powers. In that era, the 7 Demogorgons that had surpassed the King God realm had left the continent to the outer space. Those were enough to prove how thick the heaven and earth energy was in those 2 eras. Also, they had had so many rare and precious natural products, which helped them reach that level. Currently, this continent was worn out by strong creatures in the immemorial epoch and the experts of the antiquity. At present times, it was hard to reach the high realm. Time was running out. If the Grace mainland didn't have the natural energy anymore one day, warriors would have nothing to support their cultivation, which would hold them from reaching the higher realms. Without heaven and earth energy, spiritual herbs couldn't grow. Without heaven and earth energy, there would be no essence chi crystallization. Shi Yin felt terrible thinking about these things. Heaven and earth energy was the root of all strong clans. The day this energy was drained was the doomsday of all races. When Bao and Jieji opened the first demon area, it would increase the usage speed of heaven and earth energy. Losing 1/3 of the current amount, this energy on the Grace mainland would be used up rapidly. No wonder why the other clans didn't stay idle. Even if it were Shi Yin, he would have to consider if he wanted to support Bao and Jieji or not. Sizzle, sizzle, sizzle. Strange noises came from a wall of the Hall of Demogorgon, as if someone was setting a fire behind it. Bo-Ruo and Gu Desi jolted, walking to that corner with surprised and happy faces. The Hall of Demogorgon cracked open a slit. Bao and Jieji walked through, bringing with them several thousands of warriors of the demon clan and their mounts. Bao and Jieji looked a little bit distressed. They had blood on their bodies. They seemed to be exhausted with different level of damage. Their auras were also weaker than usual. Masters, Bo-Ruo and Gu Desi kneeled down on one knee, shouting in a low tone. Bao waved his hand to lift them up. Suddenly, his eyes got brighter as he saw Shi Yin. He nodded to the young man. Kid, you're here? He looked tired, but he still walked directly towards Shi Yin, and didn't notice that Bo-Ruo and Gu Desi hadn't stood up yet. His deep eyes gazed on Shi Yin, his face astounded. The foul-mouthed Jieji seemed to have worse wounds than Bao. He looked as if he had sunk in blood. Just like a beast, he screamed and roared, wanting to find the Ghost Mark clan and solve the grudge. While he was talking boisterously, he walked towards Shi Yin. At first glance, he cried, "Ah, you got the demon soul sacrificial altar?" "Nonsense." Bao cursed him. This kid has the noblest blood of our demon clan. Isn't it natural that he got the inheritance from this hall? Pausing for a while, Bao continued with an odd expression. But I don't know why you have 3 sections beneath your god soul. Besides the demon altar, what are the other 2? Strange. It's extraordinary. I can't understand this at all. Shi Yin was startled inside as Bao could see the mysteries beneath his god's soul with just one glance. Wasn't he a demon who wasn't good at soul knowledge? How about you guys? The other clans hadn't hurt you badly, had they? Shi Yin smiled. Don't talk about it. F*CK, the patriarch of the Ghost Mark clan. That A** Shoals revived. He has a cultivation base of King God Realm. If his power had been recovered fully, we would have had no chance to return here. So annoying. They're so annoying. If I had known it earlier, I would have killed the Ghost Mark clan first, Jeji thundered. And that be ** of the Dark clan could control tens of thousands of Een spirits and hollow souls. He's also morbid. It's lucky that we're strong. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been able to meet you again. Okay, stop babbling. It's good that we could come back here. We shouldn't waste time, Bao intervened. He looked at Shi Yin with a solemn countenance. Are you ready? Ready for what? Opening the first demon area, of course. Shi Yan's face became serious. I heard Bo Ruo said that it needs 1/3 of the Grace Mainland's heaven and earth energy to open the first demon area. Is it true? Isn't it rubbish? Jeji intervened. If not, why the 4 clans would chase us crazily? It speeds up the rate of destruction the entire Grace Mainland, Shi Yin contemplated. If the heaven and earth energy is running out, not to mention the 4 clans and the human clan, the demon clan will also find it hard to level up. Aren't you a little harebrained doing that? Do you worry for the next generations? Actually, Shi Yin was worried about his people in the utmost 8 purgatory city, Yang Tian Emperor, Shi Jian, his elders, and the others whom he respected a lot. If the Grace Mainland didn't have heaven and earth energy anymore, they wouldn't be able to break through further, and their martial path would have been severed. Shi Yin, I have a question for you. Bao didn't change his visage, frowning. Even if we don't do anything, energy on the Grace Mainland will run out one day, right? Shi Yin nodded. Yes, it will. But it's a long time later. Bao beamed a forced smile. That little time doesn't work. Once the heaven and earth energy is emptied out, as the martial art practitioners, we will face a lot of disasters. If it has to be that way, we'd better open the first demon area and find the 7 great Demogorgon statues. Then, we'll see if we can find any solution. At least, Jeji and I can take the chance and break through to the King God Realm. At that time, we are eligible to leave this place. We will be responsible for the demon clan to find another foreign land, which is suitable for our clan to live and cultivate. Then, we will help human clan to leave too. Shi Yin was musing. Bao's words were reasonable. Anyhow, the Grace Mainland was about to reach the end of its energy cycle. If they opened the first demon area, they would just accelerate it by 1/3. But if it were like what they said, the Demogorgon statues in the first demon area could store some good methods or techniques. At least, Bao and Jeji could have a chance to receive the high-quality inheritance and break through the King God Realm. At that time, they could escape this continent and find a better place for the Demon Clan. All members of the Demon Clan inside the Hall of Demogorgon kept silent, looking at Shi Yin. They all knew that Shi Yin was the key factor for opening the first demon area. If he didn't want to cooperate with them, their hope would be extinguished. Most of the members of the Demon Clan had a clear understanding of the Grace Mainland situation. They knew that this place would be drained soon. By the time they got out of the second demon area, they planned to kill the other clans to reduce the consumption of heaven and earth energy in this continent. Heaven and earth energy was used by strong experts to whet their martial path and perform attacks or defenses. No matter it was to restore the essence chi or breaking through new realms, it was closely related to using the heaven and earth energy. In their eyes, if the other clans were all extinguished, leaving only the Demon Clan, the consumption rate would be slowed down, and they could have more time to prepare. Of course, Bao and Jeji had never given up on opening the first demon area. They had asked the Ghost Mark clan to make the sacrificial altar to connect to the antiquity Demogorgon to find this key. But it was too bad that they failed. When they found Shi Yin, they saw hope in him. Then, they made up their minds. No matter what, they had to protect Shi Yin to open the first demon area later. Are you sure I can help you open it? Shi Yin pondered for a while, and then gazed at the other two. Bao Ao and Jieji nodded. It would be impossible without me? The other two nodded again with solemn faces, not seeming to be joking. Shi Yin smiled and then nodded. Then you have to agree on one thing? Say it. The two shouted hurriedly. If you guys can figure out the solution, my people should be benefited from it too. Shi Yin spoke slowly. Shi Yin had considered it clearly. At this point of time, whether Bao Ao or Jieji wanted to carry out their plan or not, this continent would be emptied out soon. If it had to be that way, it'd be better to work with Bao Ao and Jieji to find a new chance to survive. There were intimidating existences in the antiquity and the immemorial epoch in the foreign lands. Would it be better for them if they could meet those existences? If it didn't work here, should they go to another place and find a continent where the energy was still rich and abundant? Everything would be solved, right? As long as he could take his people, Shi Yin thought that cooperating with Bao Ao and Jieji wasn't a bad decision. They are your family members. It's no problem if you want to take them. Bao Ao made a quick decision and agreed immediately. Moreover, you don't have many people, so it's all right. Jieji nodded continually. Shi Yin smiled relaxedly. Okay, I agree to help you open the first demon area. He paused for a while and then asked, what should I do? Use the blood you extracted last time. The immortal demon blood. Bao Ao let out a low shout. Immortal demon blood? Shi Yin was surprised. Yes, the immortal demon blood. The blood of the Undying demon tribe. The Undying demon tribe is the tribe that had the strongest fighting competence among the other tribes of the demon clan in ancient times. It's the only tribe that could fight face-to-face with the same realm god clan members. And the god clan is considered the perfect race. In the antiquity, a spirit realm god clan warrior could kill 3 warriors at the same level from the other clans except for your clan. And only the members of the Undying demon tribe could fight the god clan's members one-on-one, without falling into the disadvantaged situation. Shi Yin was struck. Bao Ao pointed behind him. See? The 7 Demogorgon statues are all the experts of our demon clan who had surpassed the king god realm during tens of thousands of years. Our demon clan has many branches. As far as I've known, the demon clan had more than dozens of branches in the antiquity time. Your Undying demon tribe is just one of them. However, there are 3 out of 7 experts who had surpassed the king god realm and were from the Undying demon tribe. Shi Yin couldn't help but get frightened. Bao Ao's words had struck him vehemently. You have the immortal demon blood. It's the Demogorgon's blood. It's the same blood that those 3 experts had. And the Demogorgon's blood is the key to open the first demon area. Only the demon clan's branches that have the Demogorgon could possibly have the Demogorgon's blood, which is the blessing of our ancestors, said Bao Ao with a respectful face. Chapter 696, Open. Chapter 696, Open. The 7 statues were the replicas of the 7 Demogorgon during tens of thousands of years of the demon clan. Each Demogorgon was an existence that surpassed the king god realm. Direct descendants of the 7 antiquity Demogorgons would probably have the Demogorgon's blood, with many different marvelous effects. Usually, it had a massive energy, with the mysteries of the martial path. The immortal demon blood was one of the Demogorgon's blood kind, which could heal the body and predict friends' or relatives' activities. Shi Yin had never known that the immortal blood in his body was the blood of the Demogorgon of the demon clan. He finally got the information from Bao Ao. What happened to the Undying demon tribe? Why did you assume that they were exterminated? Shi Yin pondered for a while and then asked. The Undying demon tribe was combative innately. They were the true fighters. However, this tribe didn't have a large population. It was usually like that. During fighting in the antiquity, they were always the pioneers to expel the god clan, while the other clans followed behind them. In battles with the god clan, If the Undying Demon Tribe's members weren't the vanguard, the other clans could never have endured. Eventually, the God Clan left, leaving the Undying Demon Tribe with severe losses. That battle had cost them 4/5 of the population. Bao Ao continued his explanation. Not long after the God Clan left, the Nine Clans' Great War happened. As the Undying Demon Tribe had the strongest fighting competence in the Demon Clan, they continued to shoulder the most important missions of the clan. In that war, they had almost no members remaining. In the end, when Human Clan rose, the Undying Demon Tribe disappeared. Otherwise, Human Clan would never have a chance to rule the continent, Bao Ao growled. Where had the 7 Antiquity Demogorgons gone? Some of them had left before the war with the God Clan, and some left after that to the foreign land, since the heaven and earth energy in the Grace mainland wasn't enough for warriors at their levels to continue their cultivation. Whenever we gain a Demogorgon, the other clans have to be afraid of us the most, replied Bao Ao. Shi Yin frowned, pointing at the drawing of Lao Luo. Do you know him? He was a precursor of our demon clan. According to the description from the Demogorgon statues, he was called Lao Luo. In the antiquity and after the war with the God Clan, he was one of the most prominent warriors of our clan. He had reached the King God realm at an amazing speed. Later, he didn't wait for too long. Or perhaps it had happened in that time when heaven and earth energy wasn't enough to help the King God realm warriors in breaking through the next realm. He didn't continue to break through here to become the 8th Demogorgon. He left early. This precursor called Lao Luo was a miracle of our clan during that period. He had comprehended the power of darkness. He didn't have many rivals for his whole life. Shi Yin was struck as he could confirm the demon on that drawing was Lao Luo. From the blood vein ring, he got a streak which said that Lao Luo was one of the 8 cortege of bloodthirsty, and he was the weakest. He must be the entourage of the blood vein ring's previous owner. Have you ever heard about anybody that Lao Luo had submitted to? Shi Yin suddenly asked. He was quite tense, as he thought that he was about to get the answer for the mysterious profile of the blood vein ring. For the previous owner of this ring, the ring that had given him so many miracles, he had sincere respect. It was because even if he had reached the true God realm, he hadn't gotten the approval from the ring's spirit. This spirit didn't even care about him, as it thought his power was too weak to be worth being the ring's new master. What kind of joke is that? Jieji intervened, shaking his head continually. In that period, Lao Luo was invincible. There was no hotshot of any clan who dared to provoke him. How could he be someone's entourage? By the time he left the Grace mainland, he was the most intimidating existence of that time. I can't think of anyone who could subdue him. Shi Yan's eyes brightened. He had a new conclusion. The blood vein ring didn't belong in the Grace mainland. Lao Luo was apparently one of the 8 cortege of bloodthirsty. If he were so strong at that time as one of the most mighty existences of the Grace mainland, there would be no one eligible to subdue him and make him call that one master. Then only one possibility was left. It had happened after Lao Luo had left the Grace mainland. Someone in the endless starry sea of the universe had subdued him, and this person was the previous master of the blood vein ring. From this point, the blood vein ring apparently didn't belong to the Grace mainland. As this train of thought crossed Shi Yan's head, he had a better understanding of the universe. Now he knew that the universe had existences that went beyond his imagination. If we're prepared, we should do it now. I've been waiting for this moment for such a long time. Bao Ao rubbed his hands, talking excitedly. Shi Yin nodded, pressing down the thoughts of the blood vein ring and Lao Luo. He smiled faintly. How to open it? Bao Ao didn't answer him. Instead, he walked with Jieji towards the pond in the center of the Hall of Demogorgon. When their reflections appeared in the pond, the black, burning flame flew and got into the 7 Demogorgon statues. The sight at the lake bottom revealed little by little. It was an enormous demon drawing, which was inexplicable to the Acme, containing endless mysteries. The 7 Demogorgon statues had become 7 nodes of that mysterious drawing, as if they were some kind of a formation eye. Bao Ao and Jieji stood right at the center of the 7 Demogorgon statues. Under their feet was a magic formation sketched by demonic patterns. Demon energy was seething, releasing the aura that could distort people's souls. Shi Yin was stunned looking at it. "Come here." Bao Ao waved at him, signaling him to come. He laughed contentedly. "The entrance is here. However, once it opens, this place will be ruined. The Hall of Demogorgon won't exist anymore. The 7 Demogorgon statues will go with us. Anyway, it's not important. As long as we can find the top-grade Demogorgon statues in the first demon area, we will get a better inheritance. At that time, we can escape this place." "We don't need to prepare anything?" Shi Yin asked with uncertainty. "Don't worry. We've prepared everything before you came here," Bao Ao smiled. "We just need only one thing, your Demogorgon blood. With the Demogorgon blood as the key, we can activate the other things we've prepared. Hurry up. Don't delay here. We've been waiting for you for almost 1 year." Jieji was hurried. "You brat, you told us it would take only half a month. Turns out you wasted 1 year. If we weren't so bored, we wouldn't play with the Ghost Mark clan, leading to their rebellion." As they had been waiting for Shi Yin in boredom, they came to the Ghost Mark clan to see if they could use their secret technique to contact the Demogorgon statues in the first demon area. However, when they arrived at the Shady Firmament Old Mound, they found something abnormal. Not only Cassidy was resurrected, but many clansmen of the Ghost Mark clan had also become stronger. Members of the Ghost Mark clan had used the Ein-written charm scripture to convert heaven and earth energy into mysterious Ein-chi to supply to the shriveled clansmen, making them vigorous again. The heaven and earth energy was a limited source. The 2 leaders of the demon clan were afraid that if they let the Ghost Mark clan convert natural energy massively like that, they wouldn't have enough energy to open the first demon area. So, they attacked the Ghost Mark clan immediately to erase this threat. In the next moment, an immense will spread out from the Ein-written charm scripture. At that moment, they realized the scripture had changed and revived the patriarch of the Ghost Mark clan. Although his power had been recovered just a little, they had to struggle hard. That fight ended with Bao Ao and Jieji's defeat. They returned immediately. Not long after that, the 4 clans had joined hands and started to attack them. As the patriarch of the Ghost Mark clan knew it would take a lot of energy to open the first demon area, he had led the other 3 clans to attack the demon clan. They all knew what they should do to prevent the demon clan and save time for their clans. If Shi Yin had broken through the true god realm in half a month, the demon clan wouldn't have suffered such a significant loss. That was why Jieji got mad at him. Shi Yin rubbed his nose as he felt a little bit embarrassed. As Jieji urged him, he didn't delay and walked to them. Under his feet were the extremely complicated demonic patterns. They looked like an unceasing, exquisite sketch drawn by the Almighty. Although Shi Yin had knowledge of formations, even after scrutinizing the formation for a while, he couldn't understand any of its subtle features. The magic characteristics of this place had surpassed his knowledge. Where should I drop the blood? And how many drops does it require? Shi Yin put on a bitter face. I've just condensed the altar, which consumed a lot of my immortal demon soul. You've given me a high price. 3 drops is enough. Bao Ao glared at him and chuckled. Of course, we know the immortal demon blood's precious. We won't trap you. Ah, yeah, I forgot to tell you that if you can complete replacing your blood, you can increase your body's competence tremendously. At the same time, you can receive the ancient power of the Demogorgon seal. And besides this stuff, you can restore the real body of the Undying demon tribe, the immortal body. Shi Yin was struck, feeling dizzy. Replace blood? How? You have the immortal demon blood in your body, which carries the infinite, refined energy. Use it to replace your own blood. Only the clansman with the Demogorgon blood can do that. You're that sort of clansman. You lucky be *starred, Bao Ao smilingly said. Shi Yin got stirred up, but then he went begrudgingly. Was it a piece of cake to condense the immortal demon blood? Each drop was extremely precious. Although he had the mysterious martial spirit to condense it, he had created just a little number of drops until now. Building the soul's sacrificial altar had taken half of the drops he had. At this moment, he had to spend 3 more, leaving only 10 drops stored in his body then. Using the immortal demon blood to replace all the blood running in his vessels was a construction that would be many times tougher than building the utmost 8 purgatory city. He felt his scalp tingling thinking about it. However, the benefit he could have was quite desirable. Yin couldn't help but dream about it. Maybe if I can kill enough for the mysterious martial spirit to refine the energy, I can do that, right? Yin thought. Chapter 697, Desolate, Deathly Stillness. Chapter 697, Desolate, Deathly Stillness. 3 drops of immortal demon blood fell from Yan's fingertip onto the subtle demon drawings underneath his feet. A dazzling red halo expanded from the patterns under their feet. That massive formation sparkled while flows of black flame, which were as viscous as a flaming liquid, pouring on the demon patterns. At that moment, the patterns were filled with energy, which activated some mysterious formations. The strange formation arrayed with demon patterns and drawings seemed to become the giant, gloomy mouth of a beast, releasing a powerful suction force. Shortly, all the demon chi in the Hall of Demogorgon was drawn. The suction force from the patterns raked through the place, covering everywhere. Rumble, rumble, rumble. The massive pillars in the hall trembled, as a giant passage that was drawing energy appeared above their heads. An immense, torrential energy wave shot out from the energy passage towards the Grace mainland. Just like a powerful pump, it started to suck the heaven and earth energy of the Grace mainland. Instantaneously, all the experts in the Grace mainland could sense the change of heaven and earth energy. They discolored in fright, as fear rose in their hearts. Leaders of the other 4 clans in the other corners of the second demon area soared up to the sky, flying towards an abyss in the horizon where a massive energy passage had just appeared. Their faces grimaced. They understood that the operation to open the first demon area of the demon clan had begun. No one hesitated. Leaders and their hotshots of the 4 clans dashed towards the general direction of the Demogorgon Hall. They had to stop the others at any cost. Yin looked at the lively patterns under his feet, which were like a surging sea. It was seething while the patterns were like sponges taking in energy. It has started. Bao Ao was stirred up. He kneeled down above the patterns, looking at the 7 Demogorgon statues respectfully while humming in demon language. The 7 Demogorgon statues diffused turbulent waves of energy with the abundant heaven and earth energy. When that energy reached the acme, a faint light appeared under their feet. The faint light enlarged gradually until a glorious 5-colored light passage emerged. A colorful light was moving dazzlingly in the passage that hindered people from seeing what was happening inside. The 7 Demogorgon statues trembled, falling precisely into that light passage before the Hall of Demogorgon collapsed. They disappeared instantly. "Quick!" Jeji shouted. "All clansmen line up and get in orderly. Do not panic." Hearing his shout, members of the demon clan urged their beasts, disappearing into the light passage one by one. "We should move." Bao Ao glared at Yin, shouting amidst the mess of falling rocks. "The hall will be destroyed soon. Then it will blast. It should also be the time the 4 tribes get here. We have to get in before the explosion happens, or else we'll get hurt badly." Yin wasn't familiar with this place. Of course, he would follow the others' words. He ran after Jeji, entering the light passage. Members of the demon clan rode their beasts and retreated from this place under Bao Ao's direction. Bao Ao suddenly paled, shouting in fear. "Hurry up! Move quickly!" He could feel the formidable energy fluctuation of living beings outside the Hall of Demogorgon. This meant the experts of the 4 clans had arrived. At this moment, massive pillars that supported the Hall of Demogorgon collapsed. Pieces of rock scattered everywhere. Many big chunks of rock that were as big as a windmill brought with them a massive energy of impact. If they hit someone, they would smash him or her into a pulp of meat. Although the demon clan's members all had sturdy bodies, they would still not be able to endure such damage. Hence, Bao Ao was worried a lot. Under his shouts and screams, clansmen of the demon clan took their beasts and stormed into the passage. When the last demon and his beast disappeared, Bao Ao shouted and turned into a black beam, disappearing into that light passage. In that fraction of time, the Hall of Demogorgon blasted. Pieces of rock scattered everywhere. Demon chi condensed and exploded, generating tremendous tremors. Corpse Chief, Kanti, the written charm scripture, and a distorted dim halo appeared above the energy passage in the Hall of Demogorgon. No one stood behind them, or no one could catch up with their speed, to be exact. Two people and the two magical objects felt the blast under their feet right when they appeared above the Demogorgon Hall. The four were a little bit hesitant. They didn't care about the strong explosion, plunging into the ruins of the hall. As the two pagans, a scripture, and a dim halo descended on the Demogorgon Hall, they seemed to trigger some furious barrier. The explosion under their feet became fiercer, and the shockwaves dizzied these people. Kanti and Corpse Chief got hurt differently from that blast. They had to consume a big part of the energy to maintain their immortal bodies. The written charm scripture seemed to be affected by the explosion, as it was bouncing and trembling disorderly. However, the dim halo wasn't affected. It plunged through the ruined hall, flying towards the light passage. As Kanti and Corpse Chief saw the dim halo descending, they immediately followed it with their best speed. The written charm scripture trembled, swaying in the air to avoid the furious explosion center. It was the last one descending. As it recognized the formation was open completely, it had no method to stop it anymore. The scripture had no choice but to follow Kanti's team to get into the light passage. Rumble, rumble, rumble. Not long after the four entered the passage, the Hall of Demogorgon collapsed completely. Big blocks of rock covered the place, leaving only a slit from where heaven and earth energy was seeping through to the passage. Comoros and the three Yama Kings arrived later. Seeing the ruins of the Hall of Demogorgon under the 1,000 meters tall pile of debris, they didn't know how to get into the place. How about you guys? You know how to get into the earth well. Shouldn't you be able to dig a passage? Comoros looked at Corpse Mount and Corpse Sea with hope. As long as you can make a passage, we can all get there. Corpse Mount and Corpse Sea tried for a while, and then shook their heads. Corpse Mount then said, "The 5 elements are disordered now. We can't get in. If we want to go there, we have to remove the 10,000 meters of rock." After he said that, the others turned grim, but they couldn't utter a word. "We should wait and see." Haetion contemplated for a while, then continued. "Our leaders got there earlier. I think if anything happens, they can solve it. And if our leaders can't solve the matter, even if we get there, we still won't be able to do anything." Hearing him, the others could only nod begrudgingly. They stopped all operations, waiting in silence above the Hall of Demogorgon. The gloomy sky hung above the dark ground. Deathly, desolate, deep chasms scattered here and there. It was the world Shi Yin saw at first glance. There was neither demon chi nor any heaven and earth energy in this place. This world only had a rough, uneven ground, with scattered dried bones everywhere. Those bones belonged to the members of the demon clan and giant beasts. Shi Yin could see so many dried bones in this world, which seemed about to be gone with the wind at any minute. Shi Yin, Bao Ao, Jieji, and the hotshots of the demon clan were all stunned on seeing the background of the first demon area. They were petrified, not knowing what to say. Looking at the horizon, they could see some mountain ranges jutted up to the sky, hiding in the dark, while the endless darkness occupied the further areas. There was no life. This place was even more desolate and barren than the second demon area. It wasn't as beautiful as they had imagined, and they couldn't see the Demogorgon statues. The 7 Demogorgon statues from the second demon area were placed in front of them in the order they had been in the Hall of Demogorgon. It seemed their functions hadn't been changed, and the demon clan's inheritance was still there. Is it the Holy Land you've yearned for? The first demon area? Shi Yin contemplated for a while, and then asked Bao Ao gingerly. "We've spent 1/3 of the Grace Mainland's heaven and earth energy to open the first demon area for this?" Bao Ao was startled, but he couldn't answer. People would always imagine the best things. Bao Ao and Jieji were the members of the younger generation of Demon Clan who had never experienced the Antiquity War. So, The things they knew about the first demon area had stopped at 10,000 years ago. Dozens of thousands of years ago, the first demon area had been filled with demon chi. It had so many hotshots of the demon clan and the top Demogorgon statues, where they could receive the strongest inheritance. They had the ancient experts to teach them the power Upanishad and give them the treasures of the demon clan. Those memories were their assumptions and the motivation that had urged them to open the first demon area. Today, this place was barren and desolate. Looking at the dried bones on the ground and the scarce energy, all members of the demon clan gawked as they felt they were deceived. We haven't explored the place yet. This place should have something we haven't known, I'm sure. Bao Ao seemed to try to persuade himself to not believe in what they had seen here. He shouted, "Follow me. We should check this place out." Many clansmen of the demon clan felt dispirited. They stooped as despair filled their hearts, riding their beasts and following their masters. Jieji wasn't foul-mouthed anymore, as he knew that if he showed his dispirited mood at this moment, it would affect all of his men. He talked to his people in a calm and relaxed voice, saying that it wasn't as bad as it seemed. Yin kept silent the whole time. He knew talking was no use in this case. At least, they had to know why the first demon area had turned into this current appearance. Once they reached the thing that looked like the big mountain, everybody screamed in fright. Chapter 698. Hope of Dawn in the Middle of the Ruins. Chapter 698. Hope of Dawn in the Middle of the Ruins. It was not a mountain range. They were the ruins of 7 collapsed Demogorgon statues. Each statue was as imposing as a high mountain. Although they had collapsed, they were almost 1,000 meters tall. Situated between the Demogorgon statues was a group of temples. Those temples were ruined and desolate, no longer having the ambience they used to have. Skeletons of demons and beasts scattered here and there in the temples. As Yin, Bao Ao, and Jieji reached this place, they were silent while looking at the ruins, as if they didn't know what to say to feel better in this situation. There was no beam of energy surging on the massive 7 Demogorgon statues. There was nothing mysterious now. Apparently, these statues no longer functioned. According to Bao Ao, the top 7 Demogorgon statues in this place could absorb the power Upanishad and the knowledge of the 7 antiquity Demogorgons from the foreign land, which was a miracle. Bao Ao's group was persistent to come here with the hope that they could receive the guidance of the antiquity Demogorgons, or they could receive their inheritance at least. With this inheritance, they could break through to the King God realm, which could help them find the way to escape, perhaps. It was too bad that the 7 Demogorgon statues had all been damaged. They lied in the ruins of the temples without any waves of energy around them. Bao Ao kept quiet for a long time and then asked his men, "Get in the temples. Check everything there. If you find anything abnormal, report it to me immediately." Jieji gave his men the same order. For the time being, members of the demon clan rode their beasts, jumping into the temples and starting their quest with anxiety. Everyone was worried and suspicious, but no one dared to utter a word. They didn't dare, but Yin did. After hesitating for a while, he frowned and then spoke up. "This place seems to have had a purr." Bao Ao and Jieji discolored abruptly. Light shot out from his eyes while fear rose in their hearts. How could they not notice that? Dried bones were scattered everywhere in the vast first demon area. There was no life to be found, and those were bones of the demon clan's members and their beasts, not of any other clans. If a war had happened here, this place should have had bones of other clans as well. That's why Yin said purge, which also implied that the ones who carried the operation had the ability to clean all the demon clan's clansmen and beasts in the first demon area. Moreover, they had retreated intact with triumph. This conclusion had struck Bao Ao and Jieji severely, dragging their hearts into a deep abyss. They didn't want to believe it was true. Whatever era it was, the demon clan was always strong. Although they had had to hide in the demon areas during the rise of human clan that year, they had never received such a significant loss. They couldn't imagine who had such supernatural powers to carry out a purge on the first demon area, their holy land. It seemed all the ancient hotshots of the clan were eradicated. This related to the dignity of the demon clan. If it were true, it would be a terrible humiliation to their entire race, as it dirted their glory from the past. That was why Bao Ao and Jieji couldn't say anything. They didn't want to believe in what their eyes saw. The two then released a powerful soul magnetic field, covering the entire temples to search for energy fluctuation of living beings or something abnormal. Too bad, no matter how hard they tried, the result was the same. They didn't get anything. Shortly, their men came back, shaking their heads in distress, indicating that they found nothing. This group of large temples had no barriers or formations with a streak of energy left. This meant that they would never find what had happened here. Each demon returned from a vain search was glum. They could see the truth, and a deep despair rose in their hearts. Who was so heartless to kill all members of the demon clan in the first demon area? No one remained. They had even destroyed the 7 Demogorgon statues, cutting their path of further development. All members had a big suspicion in their hearts, but they were helpless, unable to untie this knot. What should we do? Shi Yin was worried, asking the other two. If it's the result, I think we all have the answer. Perhaps we should leave this place and return to the Grace mainland to continue cultivating. It's the right thing to do. It's tough. Bao Ao forced a smile, shaking his head. Heaven and earth energy of the Grace mainland is maybe enough to facilitate only 1 or 2 King God Realm warriors. Perhaps you don't know it yet. When a warrior is breaking through the King God Realm, he has to collect thick heaven and earth energy sufficiently. If the energy isn't enough, even if he has reached the realm, he will definitely fail. At this moment, the heaven and earth energy there has been consumed by 1/3. To restore the patriarch of the Ghost Mark clan, it requires half of the remaining energy. We don't have many opportunities. Shi Yin was struck. Their situation was that alarming? I'm telling you, Xin Ming, the lord of the monster clan in the perpetual night forest, could reach level 10 already. He's patient and not taking the heaven and earth energy to break through because he's worrying that once he does that, he will speed up the draining speed of the energy in the Grace mainland. At that time, his monster clan will have to bear disasters. That monster has the god's domain already. He has almost comprehended the mysteries of the King God realm. If he wants, he can break through easily, said Bao Ao, looking deep into Shi Yan's eyes. Shi Yan's countenance became grimaced. Xin Ming, the patriarch of the Ghost Mark clan, and that guy from the Dark clan, they all need a tremendous amount of heaven and earth energy to support them. At this moment, energy in the Grace mainland's only enough for one of the 3. No matter who breaks through or recovers, we won't have even the soup to eat. Not to mention breaking through the King God realm. I'm afraid we can't even continue cultivating. Bao Ao shook his head and sighed. He felt begrudging and distressed at the same time. He didn't know which path they should take for now. Shi Yin didn't say a word. He stood there emotionlessly as he was trying to squeeze his brain for a solution. He realized that no matter how hard he tried, this situation wouldn't be overturned. Suddenly, he remembered the blood vein ring. From the information he got about Lao Luo, the blood vein ring wasn't something that belonged to the Grace mainland. Its previous owner had subdued Lao Luo, the one who used to be invincible in the Grace mainland, in the foreign land. So, he must be an absolute existence in the universe. Although Shi Yin didn't know why the blood vein ring had fallen to this land, he could confirm that it would never want to see him die that way slowly. Without the heaven and earth energy, it would be hard for him to advance. The amount of energy required to reach the King God realm was intimidatingly formidable. He pondered for a while, and then sent his thought to the blood vein ring, explaining his difficult situation and wishing for instructions. The immense rainbow-like light overflowed from the blood vein ring, as if the ring's spirit was considering something. That colorful light extended from Shi Yin, covering the temples and the 7 collapsed Demogorgon statues. Bao Ao and Jieji were startled, looking at him bewilderedly. Shi Yin wasn't bothered. He gathered his mind, essence, chi, and soul, waiting silently inside the blood vein ring. Swoosh! A flow of sharp and enormous energy gushed out from the blood vein ring. The remaining immortal demon blood drops in Shi Yan's body instantly shot out from his body, lining up in front of him. drops of ruby immortal demon blood revolved in the air, carrying the tremendous blood chi. Under the guidance of some power, they divided into 7 parts, flying to the core of the 7 Demogorgon statues. At the same time, the negative energy stored in each of his acupuncture points was drawn out, turning into beams of gray energy that shot towards the 7 Demogorgon statues. It seemed they were condensing the vessels for the 7 Demogorgon statues. It was a miraculous scene. Shi Yan's eyes brightened. He could vaguely feel a gossamer-like aura from the 7 Demogorgon statues. Bao Ao and Jieji shivered in fright, their faces disbelieving, looking at Shi Yan with astonishment. All members of the demon clan were stunned. They were gazing at Shi Yan as though they were watching ghosts. They all could see that the ring on his hand was transforming the 7 Demogorgon statues. Pfff. Shi Yan spurted blood from his mouth. He turned pale immediately. This was the sign of significant blood loss. At the same time, his negative energy had been drawn completely. Countless beams of negative energy had been sent to the 7 Demogorgon statues. Suddenly, this supply was cut off. They could feel a energy fluctuation, as thin as the spider thread on the 7 Demogorgon statues. 7 flows of weak energy shot out from the core of the 7 Demogorgon statues, gathering at one spot. A small door was generated in the sky above the temples. Bao Ao and Jieji were dumbstruck, gawking at the 7 Demogorgon statues. They were astounded on seeing that the 7 Demogorgon statues seemed to be healed due to the strange energy from Shi Yan. It seemed, if Shi Yan had enough energy, these statues could be restored wholly. Unfortunately, Shi Yan's energy wasn't enough, so it couldn't reach such a level. However, they were still thrilled because of the small door above the temples, although they didn't know where it would take them. Rainbow-like light on the blood vein ring ceased and disappeared. The ring spirit seemed to be exhausted. It became quiet, as if it would take a relatively long time to restore. However, it was enough for Shi Yan. He knew that the blood vein ring could receive his thought and had shown him the way to survive. He didn't know where that door led to, but he knew that there was a solution behind that door. And, whether it was the solution for his matter or for all the clans in the Grace mainland, only God knew. Bao Ao, as you dare to open the first demon area on your own, your clan will be destroyed. Right at this moment, a feeble but melodious voice came from the written charm scripture. The scripture swayed and showed itself. A gloomy shadow also appeared behind it, followed by Kanti and Corpse Chief. They stood at the 4 corners of the temples. Chapter 699, Meteorolite Sea. Chapter 699, Meteorolite Sea. Kanti of the Dark Devil Clan, Corpse Chief of the Corpse Clan, the Patriarch of the Ghost Mark Clan, and the Creature of the Dark Clan with the Spirit Ghost Flame were the strongest 4 existences of the Grace mainland. Right now, they all were present in this desolate area. They had chased after the demon clan to this place despite the formidable explosion. Each of them had suffered different levels of damage. This time, they came here to ask the demon clan to pay a big price. As Bao Ao and Jieji saw these 4, they were astounded. They didn't expect that those people were so stubborn. They knew they had no chance to overturn the situation once the first demon area was opened, but they still got here, which was beyond the demon clan's estimation. Why do you need to do that? Bao Ao frowned, but he seemed not worried at all. Strong warriors of our demon clan are all here. Jieji and I can stop Kanti and Corpse Chief. Zenith, you haven't restored your power yet. You can't recover the part you consumed. It's just a dream if you guys want to kill our demon clan. Don't make both sides bear damages. Nobody can gain anything in the end then. Bao Ao's words weren't meant to threaten them. Jieji's and Bao Ao's power was intimidating, which wasn't less than Kanti's and Corpse Chief's. They could even gain the upper hand. That creature of the Dark Clan hadn't had a body yet. It just depended on so many spirits and wandering ghosts, so it wasn't enough to kill Bao Ao and Jieji. Bao Ao and Jieji were afraid of Zenith of the Ghost Mark clan the most. Anyway, Zenith hadn't had recovered fully yet. Facing many hotshots and beasts of the demon clan, he couldn't gain the upper hand. As the heaven and earth energy on the Grace mainland was about to run out, If Zenith continued to consume his energy, his recovery would be much more difficult. If he didn't have the competence of the King God realm, using his body's power to escape this continent would result in his death. Thus, if they wanted to fight until both sides got damaged severely, it wouldn't benefit anyone. Candy and Corpse Chief quieted down. However, they were still hostile towards Bao Ao and Jieji. Their eyes didn't show the emotions that humans should have, only the cold, murderous intention. A faint laughter came from the written charm scripture. Bao Ao, is it the holy land in your hearts which could solve the matters of your sorrows and your clan's future? This is just a desolate area without a beam of energy. The 7 Demogorgon statues are all damaged. Do you really think that it's still your hope? Bao Ao pointed at the door the blood vein ring had generated from Yan's immortal demon blood while smiling. We still have hope. Yan stood there, hesitating as he was pondering if he wanted to get in there or not. He didn't know where that door would lead them to, but it was the solution the blood vein ring had given him. This exit was created by the energy of the 7 Demogorgon statues stimulated by his immortal demon blood. Yan wasn't so sure whether it was an effective solution or not. Canty and Corpse Chief looked at the door, their eyes brighter. Where does it lead to? Zenith had seen the door from the written charm scripture. Hearing Bao Ao mention the door, he seized the chance and asked. Ghosts know. Bao Ao beamed a forced smile. But I think it should be a solution. What do you think about getting in there and exploring instead of spending time quarreling here? Canty and Corpse Chief kept silent. That gloomy halo didn't say anything, either. Zenith also kept his mouth shut, as if he were considering Bao Ao's suggestion. While standing in front of that door, Yan had constantly checked the energy fluctuation from the 7 Demogorgon statues. Gradually, he found that the magical beam of energy maintaining that small door was getting weaker from over time. He sensed for a while, and his face paled. He said quickly, this door can't be maintained for a long time. It will disappear due to lack of energy. Pausing for a while, Yan suddenly shouted, I don't care if you want to get in there or not. I gotta go now. Then, his body flashed like a dark light, disappearing into that small door. At the moment he disappeared, a shaking energy wave transmitted to the door, and the halo the 7 Demogorgon statues were projecting got weakened by a little bit. Everybody observed carefully. Seeing that change, they were startled as they suddenly got it. After one person walked through the door, the energy that maintained the door would weaken by a little bit. In other words, the energy supplied to this door wasn't enough to let many people get through the door. After each entry, the energy would reduce. Once this energy was drained, the door would disappear. No one knew what stood behind that door. However, since this place was the first demon area, and that door was created by the last beam of energy from the top 7 Demogorgon statues, of course, it wasn't just a normal door. As the Grace mainland has come to the end of its energy cycle, all clans understood this situation, and were trying to find the way out for their clans to seek a chance to survive. Perhaps, behind the door was a solution, or maybe it was perilous, but at least they knew they had a possibility. Bao Ao and Jieji were a bit hesitant. They exchanged looks, then dashed towards the door. They disappeared into the door after Yan. The energy supporting that door got weakened the second time. If it continued this way, the door would disappear not long afterward. Bo Ruo and Gu Desi exchanged looks, then harshly stormed forward, turning into 2 beams of light and disappearing. Corpse Chief and Kanta kept silent for seconds and then shot out. Right at the moment they started to move, the written charm scripture and the dim halo also flew towards that door. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. For light silhouettes disappeared. Crack, crack, crack. Shattering sounds echoed from the 7 Demogorgon statues as they started to crack into smaller pieces rumblingly. At this moment, as their energy had been used up, that door was dispelled. Many members of the demon clan were dumbstruck on their mounts. Many of Jieji's subordinates stormed to the door, but they couldn't find anything. They were all grim, as regret rose in their hearts. It was a vast space with many meteorolites hovering in the dark, starry sky. Those massive meteorolites suspended in the void motionlessly. Each meteorolite was as big as an entire island in the Grace mainland. They were bare and smooth, without a single grass. Those meteorolites had many shapes. Some were connected with each other, but most of them were separated, hovering still in the void. They couldn't see the end of this space, in which uncountable meteorolites floated still. Shi Yin stood on one of the meteorolites, which wasn't small or big. His face was grimaced and darkened, as he was urging powers to cover his body. A fire flower sparkled out of Shi Yan's body. The scorching flame slowly arose, keeping his body comfortable. The meteorolite under his feet was dark brown and rigid. There was no heaven and earth aura, or air. This place was several times colder than the cold bitter land. When Shi Yin appeared here, his body was stiffened, as if even his blood was frozen. His energy oozed, struggling slowly inside his body. Breathing was just a routine of warriors at his realm. It wasn't an essential condition to survive. The energy in their bodies was the root to protect their perpetual lives. Shortage of air wasn't important, and low gravity wasn't a matter. The most horrible thing was that this place didn't have any heaven and earth energy. This place was cold with radiation and unknown dangers. There were dozens of giant meteorolites above his head, under his feet, in front of him, and behind him. Meteorolites were everywhere. The nearest meteorolite was around 1,000 miles away from him. In this dark space, energy tornadoes seemed to hide everywhere. Such kind of energy could even shake his soul. This place looked like a meteorolite sea. Countless meteorolites were scattered disorderly and chaotically, seeming to hide tremendous dangers. In front of Shi Yan's eyes, he often saw explosions in the farthest place naked eyes could see. The shock waves of those explosions transmitted from unknown distance and created formidable impacts that were like ferocious aura attacking people, cracking their hearts. Under his feet was a formation built of hundreds of giant bones. That formation was obviously broken, as Shi Yin could see many broken bones. There was no energy moving anymore. Those bones, which still had energy, shimmered faintly. Not long afterward, Bao Ao, Jeji, Bo Ruo, Gu Desi, and Candy appeared one after another. Until Corpse Chief, the last one who emerged from the bone formation, arrived. The bones that still had energy shattered immediately. They exploded, leaving only dust. Under the energy impact, all bones turned into dust. In this weightless environment, bone dust was like sand grains scattering into the immense darkness. Bao Ao and Jeji appeared one by one. They immediately urged their power to protect their bodies from the bitter cold, and created the power armor to avoid the unknown radiation. Candy and Corpse Chief weren't an exception. Zenith, who was hiding in the written charm scripture, seemed to mobilize his energy too. An immense, gray mist engulfed the written charm scripture, just like a cloak, covering the scripture. However, the gloomy halo wasn't affected. No energy wave rippled from it. After 8 people from the first demon area arrived, they hadn't said anything yet as they were quietly observing the situation, dumbstruck. There was no heaven and earth energy to be supplied. Dangers were waiting everywhere, and they needed to use energy to protect their bodies continually in this cold, dark, vast area, where energy tornadoes were hiding everywhere. This place was much more dangerous than the first demon area. Everything in their sight was perilously dangerous. I think we've escaped the Grace mainland, Shi Yin said after being frightened for a while. This is the foreign land you've mentioned. However, our fortune seems not good, as we couldn't find the place with abundant heaven and earth energy. Perhaps this is where we bury our bodies. Everybody fell into silence. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.